I don't know how else to make it more epic, but
I need to smoke a cigarette after that. I'm just like, dang, okay. Ooh, that was some good stuff.
Yes, I'll take that. Thank you. Hello, one. Hello, all. Welcome to this March 22nd edition, the Snyder episode. I come to you, as always, as CP.
And from the horror show and in Fuego Tainment, I mean Fuego here.
And I'm Lindsey Snyder. I mean Lindsey Pankhurst of My Two Cents of Snyder. I mean, oh my God, Snyder on the brain. Ah.
Oh, and I thought you like finished with your
Is he still doing a thing? Because I'll wait.
I am Chauncey K. Robinson of Twisted CKR. Twisted Woman CKR.
Hey, what's up, guys? How was your weekend? How are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, good. We finally have something to talk about as far as movies are concerned. Like it feels like it's been a while since there's been that event movie, and here we are. But before we get to that, Marvel just decided to take a big bucket of cold water and say, "Oh yeah, well, we've got stuff to release too. Here's Disney Plus. Enjoy this." Which most of us haven't seen, so we're gonna lead it right to you, Chauncey. Tell us about Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It was the premiere. Disney actually announced that it was their highest premiere of a TV show yet. So it beat out WandaVision, it beat out Mandalorian. So, which is pretty interesting considering that Falcon and Winter. So, I mean, Falcon has always been considered like, Captain America's sidekick in a way until he becomes Captain America in the comics. And then you have Bucky, who is also, was Hell Hydra and stuff like that. So for two characters that have kind of been on the smaller plot line to kind of get that kind of pull was pretty interesting to hear. I thought the first episode was solid. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but it's very much very action heavy in the beginning, but I think they're going to be definitely leaning more on the dramatic part of it. It's not so there's a few quips here and there, but it's definitely a drama. And it definitely deals with some real world stuff, some conspiracy theorist type things and government bureaucracy and things. So they're getting kind of political with it. So that'll be interesting. And we already heard from the creators that they'll be playing into a lot of the things a lot of civil unrest that was happening for the past year or so. So
yeah. I don't remember where I heard, but I heard it's like way quicker moving than WandaVision or anything else that Disney Plus has put on. Like it hits the ground running.
The action does. I think the action does. I don't know. I feel like it slowed down after the big action scene in the beginning. It was kind of like, okay, this is what you're here for, but we also gotta, do character development. I felt like that's kind of what it went into after the big scene that kind of grabbed you in, and then there was no lot of action after that for most of them. So, and these are actually almost an hour each one, like about 45 minutes or so. Nice. As opposed to the WandaVision episodes, which were half an hour. And it was honestly, this is more MCU formula. This one, it's definitely more MCU formula than WandaVision was. WandaVision kind of diverted from that. So I think it's going to depend on what people like. People who were kind of over the MCU formula might not like this as much, given how much, if you really loved WandaVision, it might be a little jarring. I thought it was okay. I'll admit that I probably I was more invested in WandaVision because of the witches and things like that. And I feel like this is more, action hero type thing. But I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it. Because it's more so the political undertones that they're playing with that make me excited about this season, because they are very much making it very real world. Like they're dealing with a lot of different stuff all within that first episode. So
is it safe to say how like WandaVision is like such a high concept show? Like this is more like an espionage thriller type thing?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's definitely that when it comes to the difference. Yeah, it's definitely more. The WandaVision was supernatural, totally from jump. There's something eerie going on, Twilight Zone kind of vibe. This is very much like government espionage things like bureaucracy, government, conspiracy, race, things like that, Nazism.
Of course.
Oh,
because Nazism.
Because
we always
that's
need to throw in
so
Nazis.
prevalent right now.
Well, that was a big part of Bucky's story, right? Like he was controlled by Hydra
Oh, right. Yeah,
for a while. So that, that's still very much something they kind of have to touch on in dealing with this one.
Yeah, and that's without getting spoilery. When Cecil was trying not to reveal too much to me about it yesterday, he said it had kind of a My Name is Earl aspect to it, if anybody's familiar with that show.
I love that show.
It's like, so as far as like, sillier or whatever, and he was like, no, there's an essence of atonement that a certain character is trying to like, make amends for prior discretions and stuff like that, transgressions.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God! Does Bucky have a list? And he's like going through and just like,
love that show so much.
It's so good. One of the worst cliffhangers ever. Like, no,
because they got canceled. It's I'm so disappointed.
See, I'm not like a Marvel boy, a DC boy. I really, I'm not like that. Like some fans are, I can't like this because I like that. I'm just all about, just give me a good story. Yeah. But having said all that, Marvel, you're kind of being a dick for releasing this the same weekend as the Snyder Cut. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, just let them have their fucking Thursday for Pete's sake, you jackasses. But
wasn't it a day later because it hit
still let them have their weekend.
Okay.
Some people got to work Friday morning, so they couldn't soak up that 16-hour runtime. So
the moment it hit, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just to be jumping back to that whole espionage, like the second Captain America sort of vibe, and just a continuation of that sort of approach and stuff like that intrigues me. I don't love that second Cap as much as a lot of people do, but it still was very multi-layered and in some of the themes that they tackled. So
sweet.
So I don't know how many of you in the audience have seen the Zack Snyder's Justice League, not the Justice League, but be prepared. This episode, we're gonna just spoil the absolute shit out of this movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning. This is basically what we're doing tonight. So, thanks for dropping by. Be sure to leave a like, share with your friends, comment, say hi. I haven't seen this yet. Thanks. And deuces. Be sure to catch Chauncey and I over on Chauncey's channel, as I'm going to try to shit on Jason X, but
this week.
Yes, this Friday I will be making the sound case that Jason X is the second best movie of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Oh,
that's a bold.
I must rewatch. I must take notes and be prepared for that discussion. Yeah. Okay, so Snyder Cut. Just inside 4 hours. People said it was 4 hours, but there was a lot of credits. It's under 4. It's like
3:54.
Yeah, it's a heavy 3.
Heavy 3.
Yeah, because credits make up like 10 to sometimes 15 minutes of these big blockbusters. So.
I remember checking at like 3:40 something. I'm like, we got to be close to done, and we were, and there was a lot of credits, but. Overall, I guess I'll start screen counterclockwise. Lindsey, just first thoughts before we dip into it, and we'll dive in after that.
It's so cool. It's extremely rough in parts, and some of it I'm just like, really? But it's so cool. There's so many. You could easily cut this down to 3 hours and get it into theaters, and there never would have been any issues. I mean, who knows what the politics are? I really want that tell-all book. I don't know, like Ray Fisher will end up writing that, or like Zack Snyder will just retire on the money he gets from like writing the tell-all book 20 years from now or whatever. But I want that book. I want to know what happened. This movie was very, very rough, but cool. It was so cool. It was very cool.
Yeah. Chauncey.
I loved it. It was the movie we should have gotten in 2017. I think it really just showed. After it finished, I was just like, I just need some time alone with Whedon. to just like, you know, to just like, you know, be like, what were you thinking? Why'd you do that? You know, like there were so many layers of how much he tainted the 2017 version. But even on a even if you hadn't seen the 2017 version, I thought because I know that a lot of it was the comparison, but I thought the 2021 version was solid on its own. I know some people felt like there were moments that were like just packed and could have used some editing, but I don't know. I feel like, you know, we've had 4-hour Lord of the Rings, Return of the King and other movies. Fair. So to me, I thought it was a movie. I was like, here's a movie. He has a lot to say and he's doing it in 4 hours. Why not? You know, there was never anything in there where I was like, we could have done without this. Except maybe some of the Lois Lane stuff, but that's just because I think she's a miscast. Yeah. But other than that,
as a whole, you can do without her.
we can just use a different actress. But other than that, I loved it. I thought it was what we deserved in 2017.
Sorry, Trini. Take care. We'll come back and watch it when you're done. Sorry.
Later,
Trini. Fuego.
Yeah, so I watched this all in one foul swoop. I'm not sure if anybody else did. I attempted watching it that first night and fell asleep because it dropped like right at midnight. And I was just like, no, I can't stay up till 4 a.m. This isn't happening. And so yeah, all in one foul swoop, and then just rewatched Justice League right before this broadcast. And I must say, I wasn't over the moon with adoration, but I really, really dug it. It felt like the proper epic conclusion for this iteration of the universe, even if they did, you know, leave all kinds of doors open for what they plan to do afterwards. And I've read a lot about what they plan to do afterwards. Snyder's been on the, you know, interview circuit talking about it. And it's kind of a bummer in my estimation because it sounded really friggin' cool. But more so than anything, how similar that bits were. I mean, I'm a sucker for whether it's Ridley Scott or Coppola or Cameron or whoever. I love the director's cut that, you know, in comparison with the Reader's Digest Cliff Notes sort of version that I felt like Whedon's was, and completely different third act, which I preferred in every capacity in Snyder's version. But there were certain scenes that were Snyder's that I was surprised were Snyder's. And it shows that, you know, Warner Brothers was really adamant about lightening the tone after BBS more so than I actually realized. So, I mean, the I'm Rich bit and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, wow, that was in Snyder's version, you know. So stuff like
that. It's a great line.
It is. It is. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, that's all he is. What the? So
amazing.
I gave it a full number grade higher. Granted, I didn't give it a 5 or anything. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5. But the original, I really wasn't too fond of. I felt it was a little too Jossy. The fun I had with the 2021 version was I kept trying to figure out just how much was cut from 2017 because Cyborg, is that his name? Yeah. He almost is the lead character of this movie. There's so much time with him where I'm like, how much of this did you cut? Why did you cut all of this?
We know why.
I was trying to be polite and lead to the rest of the show.
And also a lot more flash too. I mean, much more development.
It was like everything was fleshed out. Granted, some things like 17 minutes of opening credits. Like, all right, you could slow that down. As a uninvested fan, I felt like it got a little gappy at times, but at the same time, I felt like you could tighten this and make it a very, very easy watch for people, especially if people are going to watch Infinity War and or Endgame. You could tighten it and still maintain a lot of the character and the relationships and their motivations where that was just not present in 2017. Like, oh cool, here's some Russian family and they're trying to get away from the red sky. It's a better movie. The one thing that really stuck out, that battle scene which I had in the opening, if YouTube will let me keep that footage,
So many people are posting footage they shouldn't have.
I know.
Don't worry about it. Like, if they're gonna come for you, they got a lot of other people.
I'll just cut it, and then it'll start late. That's all. The one thing that really stuck out was Steppenwolf looked fantastic.
Yeah,
His
way better.
Outfit was amazing. It was like, why didn't you spend this time the first? Oh, that's right, you were rushing your fucking ass off. That's why. I had a really good time, and I didn't expect it to be so rated R. Like we had granted, the whole movie's gray-ish, welcome to Zack Snyder, but there was blood, there was body parts that seemed to go missing, and I'm okay with that. Like, for people who want classic Superman, don't watch this movie. That's the only thing I can say. You're not going to have a guy in a red cape save the day and manage to get the puppy out of the tree. This is stuff like this would kind of happen if super powered people were to try to save the earth. Some people would lose a hand or two, and shit would get fucked up. And I'm eternally thankful for this version.
Which, speaking of F-bombs, we got a whopping 3 of them in this movie, including that hilarious post-credits of, someday I'm gonna fucking kill you. It made me laugh, but that scene really worked for me. I love that newly filmed epilogue, which I guess, according to a lot of reports, was pretty much the only main bit that they shot. So
yeah, there was something before that dream world thing that I was like, did we need? I'm trying to remember what the hell it was. There was something right before that I was like,
it's where a certain character that disguises himself as Mama Kent in that one particular scene, Diane Lane. It's a character that lots of people were like, is a part of the Justice League. So where is this this otherworldly manhunter of sorts?
Oh, right. Let me write that down.
I was dancing around the issue a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to all of it.
That was actually after the nightmare scene, because didn't he wake up from the nightmare scene and then have the conversation with?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so we score out of 5, guys. I gave it a 3 out of 5. How did you guys feel?
5.
Of course you did.
I think I went 4 on my letterbox, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. It was either 4 or 3.5, but
Lindsey?
17 out of 25.
There you go.
I've got things I'm going to talk about, but there's a lot of it that I just really respect. And honestly, just like, it was probably so much closure for Zach and his family to get this out there that it's a plus in the world in whatever state that it's in. 17
out of 25 is 3.2 out of 5. Thank you.
Crap, I'm higher than CP. No!
So just
you did that math pretty quick. I was impressed.
Well, 25 is divided by 5. A dividend of 5. I don't English well. I don't math well either. Just for the sake of
3-ish.
Just for the sake of argument, what did
2.7.
What did you guys give 2017?
I think I gave it 2.5, if I remember correctly. I did not like that movie very much, especially the third act. At the time, it felt so by the books, by the numbers, and just uninspired. And that's the biggest difference between these two films, is that the third act is so drastically different, and also in tone too. I mean, watching Whedon's version, some of the Whedon jokes weird. It didn't feel like a serious like DCEU ending, sort of thing. It's just like, this is a little more pedestrian for me, at least. So.
Yeah, Flash was a little too much, and at times when I watch this one, I'm like, oh, they're getting close to making it doofy, but they never went over the line. They balanced it so well in 2021. Lindsey, a divisive of 5. What did you give 2017?
I guess it'd probably actually be like a 2 or 2.5. There's actually a lot of stuff in the Justice League that I do like. I like the message of hope that it has. I like the version of Superman. Like, he really felt more like this type of Superman that I'm used to seeing. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with the Snyder version of Superman. He was just always tonally inconsistent for me.
Sorry? You like this version of Superman?
With a mustache.
Oh no! I mean, obviously, I understand. I'm sorry. I mean, obviously, the mustache was ridiculous.
You
but
need
it
to
was also
see
hilarious.
that to understand.
Yeah.
I was making a dumb lip with my mouth.
I understand. I thought you were just cutting out because I heard like weird mouth sounds, and I was like, "Oh God, so we're losing
I'm like, oh,
CP."
shit, my tongue's not. I can't do this.
That's it really. Like there was things in Justice League that I enjoyed, although obviously Joss is a bit of a social pariah these days, so
art from the artist,
removing him from the equation and removing like the studio interference and what's going on with Snyder's family and all that, the movie in a vacuum, I didn't hate it like a lot of people did.
Chauncey, what about you?
1.
I'm actually glad.
And I don't think you can separate him from that. Actually, a lot of his issues came through in the 2017 version. He totally objectified Wonder Woman. There was literally a butt shot when the totally different shot from Batman, when Batman's coming off the plane with the Flash, he has a shot, and there's a shot where it's up on Gal Gadot from her face. Joss Whedon literally did that same scene, and you have Batman coming down, and you have an ass shot of Gal Gadot in her leather pants. The whole falling on Flash falling on her boobs, which was basically copy and paste from an Avengers movie. Because what he did was copy and paste an Avengers movie.
I forgot about
into a DCEU movie. It all came through. The way that he completely got rid of 90% of the people of color that were were originally in Snyder's vision.
That was part of Ray Fisher's problem, right?
A what? What?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That was part of Ray Fisher's problem, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. They basically gutted his storyline and then got rid of a whole bunch of, there's a list. I literally made a list of all the people of color, the significant people. And he can claim that it was time because they wanted it under 3 hours, but we had time for that European Russian family, didn't we?
Oh God, that was awful.
But you had to cut out everybody else. All that came through. He completely screwed over that movie. It was horrible. When you see what we got and what was already there, because the stuff was there. The script was done. He literally chose to do something completely different from what he was given.
All you got to do is clean up. That's all.
Exactly. That's all he had to do. He literally just had to clean it up and do the things and maybe shorten it. And he literally just made a completely different film. It was horrible. When you see, I thought it was horrible when I first saw it because I already felt like it was I had thought it was a premature movie. I didn't think we needed a Justice League movie yet, to be honest. I was like, they need to do a few more solo movies before they do it. Because I'm like, you're going to introduce everyone into a Cyborg and Flash and at the time, Aquaman, before they even have their solo films, that might be a lot to do to introduce them. And when I saw Whedon's version, I was like, I was pretty much vindicated because yes, it didn't work. And then with this one, I actually was like, had this one been the one that came out, I probably would have been eating crow because I honestly felt that in this one, they actually, the dialogue that was going on between them, the kind of roles they all kind of naturally fell into with the group dynamic. I was like, wow, I would have been eating crow had this been the one that came out because I actually see how they could have done this one first before the other solo movies because of the way Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman were flashed out. Aquaman's main line was "my man" in 2017 version. Cyborg's "booyah." He could have just said "dynamite." Why not just have him say "dynamite"? Yeah. I know "booyah" is what Cyborg says, but back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Early 2000s too.
Okay, in the cartoon.
Yeah, right.
A cartoon.
I just had to think that in. That's it.
Okay. So it's like, come on. It's like it was a horrible film. Yeah. Horrible.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't seen it. I've only seen it once all the way through. That was when I saw it in theaters. Everything else I've always just kind of watched it in chunks.
I re-skimmed through it, and I'm glad Chauncey gave it a 1 because I was going to give it a hard 1, a very soft 2.
Okay.
A very soft 2. But
there's a few bits in that 2017 one, especially dialogue wise, where Joss is trying to be funny. And his humor, ironically enough, worked less for me than in the Snyder version. We already mentioned the booyah and stuff, but in the third act where Cyborg's talking about my toes hurt, and this doesn't even make sense how my toes could hurt. And, you know, something's definitely bleeding, where Batman makes a quip after Superman gets resurrected and, you know, bashes him into the vehicle. And he's like, oh, yeah, something's definitely bleeding. Just that sort of tone. I know it's trying to be more whimsical and silly and more of that Marvel ilk, but those bits did not work for me in this, you know, rewatch that I just did. So.
No, that was something that blew my mind. Is actually the Snyder Cut was a lot funnier than the
right. I
it
agree.
was funnier.
Yeah.
I don't think the scene was needed, but the scene in the pet shop, like that was hilarious. Like
well,
it was really good. Like,
so while you bring that up, that girl that he saved, that's somebody, right? That's somebody.
That's Iris West.
That's somebody from the comics.
Literally, the Flash's love of his life, Barry Allen, love of his life, and you've completely cut her, Whedon. You completely cut her. And then she, to the point where the actress wasn't even sure she was going to come back for the Flash movie. Because she was like, okay, maybe I'm not going to even be in this. But they reaffirmed that she would be. But it's like, how do you cut off the love of his life character? How do you do that?
Well, in defense of, I don't know, Zack Snyder, just how much of her did we see that? I mean, this is coming from somebody who doesn't know shit about anything. I just thought he saved a girl. I didn't know how important she was. They shared a glance. I'm not trying
back and forth for a second.
I'm not trying to shit, Chauncey. I'm just trying to talk about somebody who watched and was like, okay, he digs that chick and he saved her. But I never got that there was anything more than that because they never went back to it.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that they spent so much time with Flash's dad. I kind of thought that because they were pushing so much emphasis on Iris West and like the advertising for this movie and how they were bringing back things that were cut out of the Justice League. I thought like his dad would be one scene at most, but I think he had like three. And I thought like okay, so just two.
Yeah.
But I thought
only the one in the original, right? I think
so.
And
yeah,
no
did he not? I don't know if
blue
he went back to him afterwards to show him that he had got the job at the precinct. I don't remember that was.
I don't think that was there. Yeah, so it was one in the original, two in this cut. But it's if you need to trim a movie and it's your job, you've been hired by a studio to do it. I'm not saying you immediately trim that scene because that is kind of an interesting the demonstration of his powers and things like that. Like there is weight to that scene. I'm not saying it's completely pointless, but you do kind of get rid of the character that doesn't get brought up again. At least that's how I would approach it. If I've got a gun to my head from the studio, I don't know.
I might do that, Dice. I might do that. Look, I want to show y'all. That is the Joker right there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, on this side is Catwoman, and on this side is Batman, and I got others. Okay, I got thoughts.
I just take pictures. I'm just taking the pictures, and I'm only going as the story they show me. I can't help it. What was the last thing we said before that?
Okay, just talking about the Flash thing.
So Alex brought up a point. He said, how much was Joss Whedon and how much was WB? Because Joss Whedon essentially, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me WB was like, do Avengers again. And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to make everything red and saturate the fucking everything and here's some jokes.
It's so weird to me too, the way he literally switched the colors. Like the dome is blue in his version and the sky is red, but the sky is blue and the dome is red in the Snyder cut. It's like,
I don't remember. Somebody has a clip. I don't know if it's still up because Warner, but they showed the driving scene, the My Man scene.
Yeah.
And one's gray and one's fucking red. And it's just like, it's the same fucking cut. What did you do?
And there's also so many little things like the choreography that Wonder Woman had when she's beating up the terrorists in France or wherever. It's slightly different. Almost as if they went back and reshot something. Maybe they did. Maybe they just used B-roll footage or something like that. But it's so close. But then there's also moments that are starkly different. It just makes me wonder how many different people actually edited the Justice League. Was it 3 different teams working without communicating with each other at times? Felt
like it.
Right? Sorry, yeah, I just had to get that out there.
Well, how did you guys feel about the way the movie opened? I mean, the first, so it's 6 chapters essentially, and the 6th chapter is like the last hour. But chapters, I'm not. It was the last chapter was the longest. To me, it felt like chapters 1 and 2 were like, here's stuff you've seen before with maybe a bit of a twist. How did you guys feel coming back to this story? Was anything really?
I'm not crazy about the tone being set by Superman screaming to death for 10 minutes, but I did like the economics of that storytelling of like how it like really showed like all the important locations and like, so here are these boxes are important. Like it's kind of setting you into a dour mood, but it is showing you all the moving pieces and all the important locations. Although I did find it hilarious that the Amazons were already pointing arrows at the mother box before it awakened.
Oh, that was weird. They were just hanging out there like, all right, someday something's gonna happen.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine having that job? Like, all right, honey, I gotta go stand in front of the box with an arrow drawn for 8 hours again today. I'll see you tonight. They're Amazons. I don't know who's talking to who in that scenario. The gender roles were all messed up. But it started very strong for me. It was like the longer it went, the weaker it got, I felt. But the first like hour or so, like I was pretty into it. I was really into it.
Fuego.
Yeah, I was all about the somber tone, man. I mean, especially rewatching Justice and seeing that goofy scene with the kids and trying to film Superman and stuff. For as dark as the previous movie ended, I felt like that tone shift just did not work for just the epicness of the storytelling and how dire the situation is supposed to be, with this incoming evil and stuff. And I mean, the new score, which is one thing I hope we get to, it was a completely different score from the other one. Like they abandoned the one from 2017. It was a little plotting at times, but that's maybe more so for just this significantly expanded runtime, not so much the type of tale that they were expanding upon.
I'll agree. The first half to me felt longer than the second half, but it's not really a complaint so much as it's like a minor pick, but we can get to that. Chauncey, how did you feel about the first 2 acts or so? The first 2 chapters, should I say?
I enjoyed it in the sense of it did set the tone to be way darker. Like that whole thing about those kids trying to start a podcast or something like that.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, these boys that wanted to be like Superman. And I can't remember because like with Wonder Woman's part, I think they cut that girl who originally says, I want to be like you someday. I don't know if that's in Whedon's version.
I don't think so.
Yeah, which was interesting, right? Because once again, he switched it to have it so the boys are talking to Superman and took out the part about the young girl watching another woman and talking about wanting to be her. He made a choice, right? Once again. And so it was nice to see that back in. And I thought it was almost uncomfortable, right? Like the whole yelling and seeing it and him like, I was like, oh my gosh, I really like it didn't weigh on me as heavy in 2017 when he died. Because honestly, I mean,
we barely knew him.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, yeah, that sucks. And they need to bring him back to fight. But when that happened and you just hear that pain, but the power, I was like, ooh, this is like, I was kind of uncomfortable. So I think it did its job because I was like, I am uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Visualizing the sound is always an interesting choice to make. And that was,
right. It's a good way to visualize the Earth is losing, a hero and just the wave around the planet of just how devastating a loss this is. Even though, Lindsey, you essentially said that I'm just gonna lay claim to it, even though I just said it slightly differently.
No, dude, you're cool. You're cool.
Yeah. Well, and also the fact that even if, we weren't all the biggest fans of Amy Adams in the character, the fact that they wrote her to be in this major sense of mourning, as opposed to in the Justice version, she's back at work and doing her thing. And she's like, well, I'm trying to keep it together, but, I'm just sad.
Wait, I thought she didn't go back to work. I thought she kept going to the gravesite with a coffee.
That's the Snyder version. So in in Justice,
and that's how we got Snyder's cameo, which that was adorable. I love that.
Oh, I missed him. Shit.
He was in the coffee shop.
Coffee shop. Paying attention to extras. Damn it.
Yeah, but just like the weight mourning seemed like significantly just, I mean, the peril seemed real in this one. And it's definitely with that slightly cheesier vibe, which we get sprinkled in Snyder's version. That there's pretty much a cheesy vibe throughout the entirety of it for my money, at least from 2017. So
also it was really go ahead.
Excuse me for 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sean's got 2 here. €5 here for the camera fun. Great film, Justice League, but one and done for me. The length for one. Not a massive fan of comic films, bar few exceptions. And there's another one here, €2. I would love a solo cyborg film, though. I think they're setting that up. I mean, it's all there.
It was planned, if I'm not mistaken. And then with this whole retooling of stuff now, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could resurrect it at this point.
Why not? Why not?
Who's the actor going to be? Are they going to stick with Ray Fisher? Or are they going to recast? That's the question.
Yeah, I think that's the issue because, Snyder did say that the way that they allowed him to do this was for him to say it wasn't canon first and foremost. And then they came out today. One of the reps was saying Warner Brothers seems to be eager to kind of move on. I don't know how this works, but it seems like Warner Brothers is willing to move on, but HBO Max hasn't said anything yet. So I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? Are you saying that you continue the canon on HBO Max, but not with WB? Like, how? Aren't they the same universe? Like, I was confused by that.
Just wait. Once everybody gets
once it all comes through, I believe that it will be canon, but I think it might be harder for us to get a cyborg movie. Snyder even came out and said that he wishes that he had pushed harder to get the cyborg movie going because he just figured with Snyder Cut, he just figured that it would be a given. He's like, well, it's a given in my movie. It's very obvious we need a cyborg movie. He's like, and I took it for granted that to me it was like a no brainer, but like he didn't put in as much effort to solidify it as quickly as, like he fought for the Wonder Woman one and the Aquaman one, but he wishes he had done that for the Cyborg one. So I don't know if we're going to get that. Right now we're getting Zatanna.
Which they just announced today with Emerald Fennell doing it, right? So the promising young woman chick is, or lady, sorry, is so.
How dare you?
I know.
Well, I'm kidding. You know what? If this is with the mindset that they don't make a ton of money, which I think they're going to do very well with this. As far as whatever the hell we know about VOD, if I were Zack Snyder, I'd be like, all right, let me executive produce this. Let me go raise money for it the way I did for Snyder Cut and just watch the internet pay for this fucking thing. Yeah. And then I get to make every penny because you guys are fucking stupid.
Well, and I guarantee with how, sorry, man, finish.
No. I was essentially done. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was going to specify the fact that I think when people watch this and they get this incredibly compelling take on the character that was non-existent in the previous version, I mean, you guys already touched on it. He is essentially the heart and soul of this film. And I didn't think I would like a portrayal of the character more than I do on Doom Patrol, but holy shit, this was just beyond compelling. And I could see a similar grassroots campaign for him just reigniting the potential for a solo film based on how people respond to his performance and how he's written here. So
I do. Okay, Lindsey.
No. I was just going to say, I think a big question to all this going forward is, good or bad, whatever happened, whatever the full story with the Ray Fisher and Joss Whedon stuff and everything is, Warner Brothers has been embarrassed, thoroughly. Like they clearly made the wrong choice back in 2017. They've gone in, done the thing that's proven that they made a mistake, and now there's been all the talk about abuse and the director's bad conduct on set, and the executives doing the same thing. So I this is just me. Like, obviously they're going to keep making DC things, but I think they want to try and distance themselves from all this kind of stuff as much as they can while still going forward, which is a very contradictory thing. I completely acknowledge that. But
how close to done were they when Snyder had his tragedy? How close would you say? 50, 75, 80%? How close?
Had they already finished principal photography? Because I'm not sure if they had or not. But
what was the timeline?
They were more than half
started
done.
Shooting after Batman v Superman released.
Okay.
So they were in production when BVS came out. So at that, because it was like May the next year, I think it was when he left. My hair looks terrible today.
Yeah, and it came out that November.
Yeah. So
take a fucking break. Delay it.
Boy, that's actually the huge thing that we're getting into. That there's a lot of backroom deals that we don't really know about and associated with releases, with toys, with campaigns and stuff like that. And that's what has affected a lot of stuff this year with coronavirus, last year with coronavirus. Is like, okay, so we've got all this ready to go. We paid the money. Oh wait, no, shelve it, push it back. It's a much it's the logical thing to do to push it back. It's the smart thing to do. It's the thing that would have been healthiest for the studio and for the franchise and the movies. But from a business standpoint, it's terrible, and that's all they care about. So
yeah, I mean, A Quiet Place 6 is fixing to come out. So,
I was just gonna say with the Ray Fisher situation, it would be great for him to play Cyborg, and I do think people.
I thought he was really good. I really did.
Yeah,
once he got his moment, yeah,
and his time, it was one of those things. But unfortunately, I do also think that it wasn't just Whedon he was calling out. Right, it was a few of them that he was saying had enabled Whedon's behavior
Jeff Johns, John Berg, Walter Hamada,
and some
not Hamada. He came later. Sorry.
Sujahara, I think.
Maybe.
And he and unfortunately some of those people are still in positions of power. And so I mean, they all at first they tried to label him as difficult, right? That's what they do. They label you as difficult first in this industry. Oh, he's difficult, When in reality, luckily more people came out and it was like, no, he's actually telling the truth about this. But I still think that they're going to hold that against him. So unless they give Snyder it somehow and he has complete control, I think Ray Fisher's still going to have a great career. I just don't think it's going to be with WB, and hopefully it won't be so much that it's like some weird connection where it kind of they all how it is. They try to blacklist people, and I don't see that happening because it's been so public and it's come out that Whedon was that, but there's still people who are still in power who enabled him and aren't being held accountable too. So
right.
Well,
unfortunately, go ahead.
No, just gonna say, watch Marvel scoop up Ray Fisher and just like throw him in some.
That's what I think too. They probably will, though, and that'll be their way of getting press. Oh, we have him playing our person with people who are not problematic. Right. Anyway, everyone likes these directors. Or something like that.
Marvel hired Joss Whedon, so they're not completely clean.
Well, that was technically the era when Isaac Perlmutter was causing things, in charge of things, and he is long gone. So it's a slightly different environment. Oh yeah, God, he's he's like one of those most like. If you guys don't know who Isaac Perlmutter is, he's an extremely reclusive billionaire who owns a huge stake in Marvel, like just like the Marvel as an entity. And he bought in during like the 90s or something like that, and he was the guy behind a lot of the really odd casting decisions and kind of questionable sexual things and racist comments about firing someone because no one will notice the difference. And then after Age of Ultron, a bunch of people just said like, look, either he's out or we're out. And so they got him out. And then Kevin Feige became the complete head honcho control of everything, at least for the movie section. I think Perlmutter is still for the comics, but he's out for the movies.
Okay, so moving a bit further in the film itself, another part that feels retread-ish.
A little deeper into the 4-hour cut. We're like 10 minutes in now.
I'm trying to like skim maybe two chapters at a time, but the sixth chapter will be its own thing. We get to stuff that we've sort of seen, but not to this degree. When the Amazons are defending the box. A lot of that stuff I was captivated by just how much work they put into that. That is when I first realized, oh no, they spent money cleaning this fucking movie up. Like there was a bunch going on, and it was a really great fight scene. And then we have the Green Lantern to that effect in the original, or a lantern, should I say?
It's just fighting Darkseid in this one compared to Steppenwolf in the other one. So
And actually, this might be controversial, but actually, I think I like the Green Lantern cameo in Justice League better because he's like up in the air swinging his hammer thing around, so he's kind of doing stuff. But in this one, he just has this weird, really long take on his face as he's just like,
yeah, that was
kind of keeps going.
Like, cut it.
Yeah, like it's
away.
totally fine, but it's like you lingered on it for a weird amount of time. Like maybe that's a really famous character I don't know, so that's why you linger.
It's a much more dire death for the character, though, because I mean, like the head's like smashed in this version or something.
His hand
loses his hand.
Yeah.
Some people lose some hands. Yeah, some a little bit of blood.
Alien blood doesn't count. That's
Yeah.
I dug it. I love the fact that they fought hard. They tried to protect themselves, yet they still ran. Like they knew they were overcome, yet we're still trying to fight. I really dug that, because how often do you see a superhero who just says, I can't handle this. I need to, while still fighting, but still I'm going to lose. I need to retreat a bit.
It was always so weird in the Justice League version when she's running out of that stone thingy. Like, well, why is this race against time? Just get out of there and get it. But then we see in Justice League, it's because the whole thing is going to collapse in the goddamn ocean. So you gotta get out before that's going to happen. So like that was one moment where like this version was definitively better because it was weird in Justice League, but here it like actually flowed and made sense and the tension was paid off.
It's so strange because in 2017 the scene felt silly to me, but watching it this time I was like, this to me feels better than anything we saw in BVS. Like the gravity of the situation, I guess.
Yeah, higher stakes.
Gravity pulling the thing into them.
Not the literal gravity.
But the loss of life aspect just seeming so much significant than, once again, the threat felt so much more formidable.
Yes, thank you. Chauncey, how'd you feel about that encounter scene, whatever?
With the Amazons?
Yeah.
I loved it. It just, it was so. I mean, I know after I saw it, I was like, I would like a series of some sort about the Amazons. I was like, it would just be very cool. Kind of like how I felt about with Wakanda with the Dora warriors there. And I was like, yeah, they got a whole society going on and a history and everything, and it just really exemplified how badass they are. So I really loved it.
That's probably the closest thing that Warner would be tempted to do, because we've had tastes of it. I mean, they kind of did a little bit of it with 84 Wonder Woman. So who knows?
That'd be interesting. And then like Wonder Woman is obviously very popular and has made a lot of money. So why not? Like if you're looking for a series to greenlit right now, that does seem like an easy win.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they did a Krypton show, for God's sake. I mean, why not an Amazon show?
Right.
I only watch the Krypton show if Krypto the super dog is in it, though.
Then something that was in the 2017 version, and it made me laugh because I forgot it was in the 2017 version. There's a bank robbery / hostage / bombing situation, and there's Wonder Woman to save the day. And in my head, I'm like, is she just there to save bank robberies? Why is that all she does? Just show up when somebody's being robbed.
Well, that was like a really classic superhero moment, I feel like. Because like when you're watching Saturday morning cartoons like Spider-Man in the 90s, I love that cartoon. But how much of that show is Spider-Man just stopping bank robbers? One, how many banks are in that city? Two, how often are they robbed? But it was
better
cute.
security.
Exactly.
But they're obviously inept, and so I mean,
that
scene played out a lot more just once again higher stakes, like we talked about with even the Amazonian conflict, because of the fact that the villain drops an F-bomb and there was more shots of these kids cringing and crying, and there's blood when Wonder Woman starts beating them up and stuff. So I mean, it just had that much more effectiveness and punch.
I love the moment where she like kicked a guy and she actually accidentally starts flying towards the kids, but then she goes over, grabs him, and then throws him to the other side of the like. That was like, ooh, that was dope. That was peak Wonder Woman right there.
Did anybody get a bit of an Iron Man vibe when she threw the suitcase, the bomb up in the air when she like skyrocketed through the roof? And It reminded me of not to constantly compare to Marvel, but it reminded me a bit of again. Keep in mind, I don't know anything about books. I'm just going on my eyes. It reminded me a bit of when Iron Man took the missile.
Oh,
in
Avengers.
the first Avengers. It just a little bit. It's not the same, but it reminded me just a touch. Was that in the 2017 version as well?
It was slightly different. She didn't go like flying up into the air like she did in this version. I think she like jumped up and got on the roof or like into an attic, and then like in the attic there was a skylight and she threw it through a skylight. Fuego, you just watched it, right?
I can't say I recall the specific nuance between
Right.
Good, huh?
It's hard to get there's a lot of two different movies we're talking about.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah.
I have a shitty memory to begin with, and I'm like, all right, I don't know if I remembered it wrong or it's that close, but it was close enough.
I was amazed how many comedy scenes translated directly. Like so many things that you say, like, oh, that had to have been a Whedonism, or that had to have been a reshoot. No, it was in this version. Like that kind of just happening.
So at this stage, we're building some characters,
yes.
of which I would say the least is probably Batman. And good for the movie for doing that. He was in BVS. If you don't know who the fuck Batman is, like, come on, guys,
living under a rock. Come on.
Yeah. There was some cyborg stuff. We got way more of Flash than I ever expected, and was pleased. I was nervous with the dog scene. I don't know, a vet, whatever you call that place. It was skating towards being a little too silly, but it caught itself nicely. I'm trying to think, who else am I missing? Aquaman, he's got his own movie. Yeah. Was there anything different about that exchange when Bruce Wayne went to that water town and asked for him, and they all laughed at him for money because he's literally talking to him? Was that the same, or was that
there was
different?
A lot of differences actually?
Like, was there?
I think Batman made like two different jokes about talking to fish.
Yeah. That joke in particular is solely in the Whedon version. So that was a Whedonism for sure.
And I don't think there was sweater sniffing in the 2017 version.
that was the only weird one.
It was a bit odd. It was a beautiful song, but like, and I love how they added. Did you hear they added the smell? Like, it's not like she's just she's just clutching it tightly. Like, no, you could definitively hear a sniff.
And what's with the Enya? Why were they all singing that weird? They were all singing that I don't know which choral. Was choral singing? That was interesting. Yeah, I don't know how I felt about that.
Yeah, the new score had this like almost operatic, like constant kind of vibe to it compared to in the Whedon one, you've got Aquaman going back into the ocean to like Iggy Thump by White Stripes. So that just really epitomized that more lighthearted vibe that, Whedon's take on it had, which I honestly like. Just that whole, I mean, this film is in parts and movements and, so on and so forth. I mean, back to the whole stage and opera comparison. So,
all right, guys, I'm going to need your help for 3, 4, or 4, 5, whatever we're up to. The middle, the second act gets a little hazy for me. So if anybody wants to take the lead, I'd appreciate it as to what we're up to and anything that sticks out as far as the middle towards the end. Good.
Wait, sorry. What was the question again?
What was
the beginning of 4? I mean, there's a lot on Steppenwolf, like his drama with his master and things like that, or not his master,
Dark Side with an EI.
Yeah,
yeah. I liked all those scenes with Desaad, and I thought that it fleshed out the Steppenwolf character significantly more so in the fact that he had betrayed his master and he was trying so hard to regain approval. And I saw some people amusingly compare it to, Dwight Schrute with Michael Scott as far as the desperation of just trying to get back in their good graces and the distrust and all that. But I mean, those middle portions of the box acquisitions and making the decision that they're going to go back to that Kryptonian ship, and the debate as to whether they should even bring back Supes or not. There are a few quips in the Whedonverse that I thought the Whedon version that were funny, most notably the Pet Sematary joke, being the big Stephen King fan and stuff that I am. I thought that
stuck with me.
Funny.
I remember that. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, but I don't know. It does drag a little bit in the midsection, which is probably why we're all having a little bit of trouble with the specific recollection of all those beats. So
another tiny gripe, question, note, I guess is the best way to put it, is why have Superman only be mostly the second half? Like, for my money, I would have loved to have Superman be confused and the bad guy for longer. Like,
they
bring him
resolved
in
all of that so quickly, and that's one of my biggest gripes with both versions, for sure.
one more. Repeat yourself one more time. I'm sorry.
No, just the fact that they resolved that conflict with him with the quickness that they did. I thought it was going to be more expanded in the Snyder version, but it's like, hey, I see Lois and everything's okay, and I'm going back to the farm, and
I'm going to destroy these 5 people, but my girl, I'm all right. I'm okay. I'll just go with her.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I actually like that.
Really?
I think one, because it's hinting at the whole idea with the nightmare sequence that eventually Superman's going to be tainted by the anti-life, right? By Darkseid, and that it's going to be a thing where that's going to be him being turned and stuff like that. So I didn't think we needed it in this one, because they already had Steppenwolf. They already had a bigger bad, and I think it would have just, when you're going to do a thing of Superman going lethal like that, it's its own saga, right? That's where we have Injustice, right? Like the idea of him going total like dictator, or what Batman was afraid he could potentially turn into, right? So I'm glad that wasn't really an aspect, and I think it just showcased again, for the fact that, although it wasn't miscast, it did showcase the fact that Lois is, a very much key to his heart, that she's kind of reminds him of that humanity part of him. So I was fine with that. I liked it. I actually thought it was executed a bit better in this one, in shocker. In the Snyder one, I thought it was executed better, because it wasn't this yes ma'am type stuff when he went to the farm. It was more like, what am I doing? Who am I? And kind of, coming back into himself, and then getting into his black suit, which was, it was kind of silly that they didn't have him go in the black. I know, because Avengers, we got to have everything in color. But when Superman comes back, he's in black. Like that was one of the ways he comes back is
his
in the
third
black
jersey.
To show the change, or a little bit of a different kind of aspect of him. And so that, I thought that really worked, and him showing up at the fight and just being brutal in a way, showing that kind of them kind of coming together as a team. So I thought it was actually okay.
Wait, if he's afraid of becoming that, why did he start off like that then? Why was he like fucked up and shooting everybody up if that's what his future is?
What do you mean? Like when he first comes back?
Yeah, when he first comes back, like he's just eye killing.
He was going on autopilot then. It's a little different. With the anti-life one, I feel like it's him like straight up evil. I think with the other one, when he came back in this one, it was more like, I don't know what's going on, and I think you guys might be a threat to me. And that's when Cyborg's thing goes off, because it senses danger, so it goes on autopilot, and then it goes after him, and so that confirms to Superman, who's confused anyway, like,
escalates shit.
These people are I'm supposed to be fighting you guys. You know what I mean? So I don't think it was necessarily insidious on that part just yet. So I kind of like that wasn't just another added thing to the fact they have Steppenwolf going around. They got this other thing, and then on top of that, you got a rogue Superman. I think when you get, to get to a point of a dictator Superman is a thing all into itself. There's a whole video game, right, series around it, and and I think you got to give it. You don't want to do that in in the initial intro to them as a teen movie, in my opinion.
Well, how would you feel if, let's just say for the sake of argument, one of the we'll move one of the boxes. So Steppenwolf has one, he's chasing one, Superman's already back, but the rest of the Justice League is trying to get number 2, but Superman is like fighting both of them, and they have to deal with that for a good.
Oh, like Superman's just like carrying the box.
Yeah, no, not even that. Like there's this Mexican standoff, and nobody knows whose side Superman is on because he's all fucked up, and that's an extra problem for the Justice League because they're like.
That would have been interesting. Better than the what we got even in the Snyder cut, where it's like they just leave the box sitting on a car. It kind of amazed me that happened. Like I like the scene that came of it, of Cyborg's dad grabbing it, taking it into the place, superheating it so they could track it. That was very clever. And, reminiscent of Watchmen, and Watchmen's probably my favorite Snyder movie, so that's very cool.
Yeah.
But it's just like can't Batman be late to this fight because he went and grabbed the box? Why do we have 2 different versions of this movie where they just leave it lying out in the open? That's a little silly.
And I'm not trying to troll the movie. I just feel like if we had more time of them,
like,
no, within your 4 hours, if they somehow really had to struggle, like shit, we brought this guy back to life, he's wrecking shit, and we don't know what to do, and how do we fix this? That would have been a neat touch if we had like 45 minutes of them having to deal with the mistake that they made in bringing Superman back. It was just so quick for me. Again, I'm not complaining. If you lengthened it more, I would have really had a good time.
Yeah, it's just like my inner love of that Reign of the Supermen storyline that they did after Death and World Without and stuff like that, where those other Supermen, like the Eradicator and the half robot version that I'm blanking on the name right now, but if there were these imposters that showed up in the meantime, I mean that's just a storyline I would have loved to have seen in live action, since we did get Doomsday in the previous film and stuff like that. So that was a cool fanboy moment that I wish we could have seen, as opposed to just the only nod to that storyline we got was the black suit, which is how he returns in Reign of the Superman. He's rocking that slightly longer hair and the black suit, and so what are you gonna do?
There's an animated movie on that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one too. I can never remember, what are those called? Like the DC animated movies? Is there a name for that series?
DCAU.
Just the DCAU? Okay, yeah. Some of those are really interesting. Like the Suicide
they're
Squad
great.
movie in there is so good.
They're better than Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel just has like cutouts moving. Those Netflix ones, when I try to see, it just feels like they're moving around. I'm just like, what?
I'm gonna save the day.
It's not really well drawn. Like I'm like, damn, y'all. I thought y'all
did
Snow White.
Animation.
Marvel, what's going on? Like, aren't you on like Disney?
Yeah, and also DC grants them those R ratings with some of them, which I greatly appreciate.
Yeah.
So let them cut loose a little bit,
Yeah. Let the grown-ups have one and let the kids have the Marvel. That's fine.
Yeah, they've got the Teen Titan, the Teen Titan Go or whatever it is. So I mean, that's cool.
So do we have anything on when Superman comes back and is a problem?
It's just another thing that's like, I mean, it amazed me that was the Snyder cut was like to bring him back, they had to have Flash run really, really fast to charge up the power to touch the box. Like that was something that I could have sworn had to have been like a last minute like reworking of something. That kind of that really
the fact that it was in both of them, you mean?
Yeah. The fact that was a Snyder original really, really surprised me. I thought they were gonna have a completely different way of bringing him back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Although I did like it better in this one, though, because of the fact that, Cyborg has that premonition, because there's so much foreshadowing all throughout this movie of the second and third films that they wanted to make with those, those premonitions, the nightmare sequences. And I thought that was a really cool beat where Flash thinks he says go, and he's actually saying no, like, no, we shouldn't do this because if we resurrect Superman.
Yeah,
because he saw that future of, Superman having turned evil and being that anti-life or whatever, and basically a minion of Darkseid's at that time. And there's that cool image of Wonder Woman's body being burned, and then Aquaman getting impaled, and Superman's like got Batman's head or mask or something like that. So
dark shit.
Yeah, lots of nuance of what they could have done, and that's just another. I'm so intrigued by those aborted plans that they still are apparently resistant about revisiting. So.
Sure. Marvel said, we're going to make people turn to dust. And DC said, oh, we're going to fucking impale people. Fuck you.
Burn the whole world. Like, damn.
Scorched earth.
Literally.
Yeah. Mad Max it up, dude.
I think this chunk of the movie is where I kind of had like a lot of issues. Like, I feel like we started getting some kind of repetitive, like, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name right now. Steppenwolf scenes. Like, if you really look at Steppenwolf's first conversation with Desaad and his second conversation with Desaad, like, it kind of makes you wonder if we really need the second conversation. Like, that's where, like, I think, like, if you're going to start cutting things, this is the part of the movie where you really start going for it. Like anti-life is cool, but do we really need to introduce it here? Especially because it then adds into the plot that this big bad that we're building up, Darkseid, just kind of forgot where the important thing was. Like, are you making your movie better at that point, or are you making your villain less interesting? It would, and then like just like the fact that like there's even like this big legend, this big lore, the defiance against Darkseid, the one time he got beat, the one planet that fought him off, and they just forgot where it was, and Steppenwolf just found it by accident. Like, it's again, it's better than the Whedon version, because you have this thing about Steppenwolf going on being like, I have learned my mistake, I've learned from my errors, I've grown, may I return home, and he's trying to prove. I would like to know what the betrayal was that he did, but in future movies.
Because it's so Chauncey is the 100,000 other planets. Is that a big deal? The fact that they've taken over 100,000 other planets in their search for these boxes, or the unity, that's it, right? Because they talk about how many other worlds they've destroyed on their
like how
path.
Steppenwolf needs to conquer 50,000 more worlds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he owes him that many. Yeah.
Is that important?
Is that from the comics?
The story?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay. See, that's kind of an oddly specific thing.
Yeah, right.
I know the boxes, the mother boxes and stuff. That's definitely in the. They work a little different in the comics, but I can't remember.
It's just this line where I heard it. They said it more than once, and I was like, if you're gonna tell me this a couple of times, show me you fucking up another world, so I have an idea, just to respect how much you could really wreck people's worlds. And sure enough, you show up to Earth and 6 people make your day shit. It would have been nice. Go ahead, Chauncey.
Oh no, I was just wondering, going back to what Lindsey was saying. Yeah, I think that I was a little confused because I saw you mention it on Twitter too, and I was also wondering because I saw one other person kind of mention that. But was it because of course in the Snyder version it was Steppenwolf, and Whedon's it was Steppenwolf that was there first, right? Right. And in this one he changed it over to Darkseid doing it, but I guess my confusion is, was it anti-life, or was he just there to take over the planet? I thought he hadn't found anti-life yet.
I thought it was the unity, wasn't it? The 3 boxes together.
Well, they already had the boxes, and they had literally gotten there because it was one of the other planets he was trying to take over, right? And he was like, "Let's put these boxes together, and we're gonna take you guys over." But then Zeus and Ares and everybody else was like, "Heck no, you ain't taking over this realm." And they were able to take the boxes and take them. I didn't, and I'm thinking, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I can't remember if I didn't catch that part. I didn't know he actually found anti-life, which is why I was confused when you said that. How could he forget where it was? Because I don't remember him actually having found it. I thought Earth just happened to be another place he was trying to take over, and he just wasn't able to do it. And then when Steppenwolf was asked, because he connected to the boxes, he was then told, oh, anti-life is also on Earth, and that's why Earth is even more important than just any of the other places. Because I saw people say, oh, you know, how could he forget where it was? I'm like, I didn't know he found anti-life there.
Yeah,
I thought I missed it or something.
Yeah. If I owed somebody 50,000 pennies, I wouldn't start with gold. I would go I would go take care of the rest of the things that I knew I can handle easily.
What were you trying to say,
if that makes sense. Sorry, Fuego, go ahead.
I was just chiming in to say that, yeah, I'm pretty positive that, you know, dark side. I always said dark seed, and Cecil corrects me all the goddamn time. But yeah, so he was there on Earth previously for the battle that we saw early on and whatnot. But I just don't think he realized it was there, and so it was just dumb luck, you know. That it's plotting convenience. To be fair with you, it's like, oh, this place where all these superheroes on the only planet where you were able to be vanquished before. It just so the main thing you've been searching all these planets for just so happens to be there, you know. But that, I mean, sometimes it's because movie, you know.
A little contrivance is always fine. There's always, you know.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Like this is a movie with flying people. Like, you know,
so he did not.
He did. I've actually gone back and watched that chunk of the. Even though it's my least favorite chunk of the movie, I've gone back and I've watched it several times. Wonder Woman in her voiceover does talk about how he found a secret as he's smashing his axe into the ground. Or not, I guess no. Steppenwolf has the axe. So Doomsday had not Doomsday. Darkseid had the mace. He smashes the mace into the ground, and the lava goes out, and there's like this big rune thing, and it's talking about how it's this big secret that he's been looking for and that he's always wanted. I don't know if they say anti-life in the Wonder Woman flashback, but they did find it, and they make the point of pointing that out. And then later on, when Steppenwolf finds it with the help of the boxes, it's almost a shot for shot, actually. If you go back and watch them side by side, like I did, like Darkseid dragging his fingers, Steppenwolf dragging his fingers, and then there's something, and then you smash the weapon, lava, and it makes the rune. It's a very odd sequence of events, and it just I don't know. It's just odd to me. That's all, and then because, you know, maybe this is just me bringing in outside knowledge that I know from, you know, comics and stuff like that, the little that I've read and cartoons and things. Like, the moment Steppenwolf knew that, not Steppenwolf, Darkseid, like, was told that anti-life was on Earth, he should have been there. Like, it was so weird for me that he's just like, Steppenwolf, yes, conquer the world, and then I'll come for my prize. Like, man, he should have been on that. The moment Steppenwolf dropped that on him right there.
And also, especially because like later on, you know, Desaad had told Darkseid already that, you know, he's going to fail, whatever. You would think the imperativeness of this discovery would have added a sense of urgency. So that's a fair criticism. I'd say.
Fuck, he failed, just like you told me he would.
But yet the second film, you know, was going to be Darkseid showing up, and that was still
why do this one?
Well, there's going to be two more. Apparently, so it's going to be a Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, then a Justice League trilogy. So it was like there was going to be two more movies after this.
We've seen Darkseid before. That wasn't in a dream. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they actually palette swapped Darkseid for Steppenwolf in the Justice League version. It's very odd. Like it's almost one for one. Like, they just like clicked Darkseid, dragged him out, and then just dragged it Steppenwolf. God, this is why I want that documentary or that book. I would love to read it. I know it's a little more complicated than that, and I'm knocking the Joss Whedon version here, but it is so silly that they did that. Like,
why rush? What the fuck was the rush?
Yeah.
There was
actually, I did read a thing. I almost forgot about this. Warner Brothers executives had bonuses writing on Justice League. So in addition to everything else I said before, those executives didn't want to lose their bonuses.
Of course they did.
Because money, you know, greed is good.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
It's the worst, man. It's the absolute worst.
I hope they're happy with their $2 million that they made. That could have been 70.
Right. And I mean, also think about some of those people that probably, you know, lost their jobs based on the performance of Justice League. If they had taken their time, had a better film to put out, and maybe stuck with that trajectory of having Ben Affleck do that Batman movie and, you know, just fill out some of this other stuff, they could have continued with this iteration of the DCEU and maybe made a ton more money than some of the other failed projects.
That's where the creative process should be a bit more uniform. Like, listen, I may never work for you guys again. I understand you want a bonus, but if this thing fails, it's going to be hard for me to. This goes on my resume. You're just losing $500,000, but I got to get a job next month, man. Like, how about we all work towards making this a great film? What the shit?
Yeah. And this intergalactic stuff I'm really fascinated by because I'm more of a grounded DC fan. I'm not aware of the stuff they're going to explore in like the New Gods, which is coming and is going to do some of this intergalactic, sort of stuff. And it's a patch of the DC comic universe I'm just not very well versed in, but very intrigued by. So.
I'm the same way. Like the New Gods and Eternals, I know so little about, but I cannot wait. Give me it. I want to see it.
What for MCU?
Yeah. Oh, both, because it's like the Thanos Dark Side, Eternals, New Gods.
Yeah, and
not that they're the same, they're very different.
Yeah, and yet isn't it funny that they're both kind of taking the same going to space course at around the same time? It's like this arms race between the two. I don't know.
Arms race.
Well, I think Marvel's gonna have a little bit of a harder time to sell some of the Eternals. Well, the Eternals, honestly, because they're not as mainstream in a way. I think it's gonna be harder, and it's just, in reading their comics, it's just such a weird departure. And then suddenly they add so much other stuff to the universe that's already been built, as opposed to Darkseid and stuff, where it's like, I'm from the outer plane. I'm like a dictator. I'm here to colonize Earth. You know what I mean? Like, that's a little bit more straightforward versus with the Eternals. It's like this weird thing that they've always been there and all this other stuff. I'm like, come on. Like, it's kind of like I
shift that to Star Wars. Yeah. You own it. Just put it in that universe. Just go ahead. Just shove it over.
Like, so I can name some New Gods. I cannot name an Eternal. Like, I don't even. Like,
they're not that stand out, to be honest. It's good they got some heavy hitters in the movie because
the cast is stacked.
Yeah,
very good cast.
I don't really think this is the kind of cast where you can do what they used to do, which was, bring someone in who's up and coming or kind of middling. I think because they needed to really sell Eternals, they had to bring Angelina Jolie up in there, like Salma Hayek,
or somebody who's related to somebody who's somehow in power, like Angelina.
Or someone just jacked. Like, what's his name? I will never get over his abs.
Camille Nanjiani, dude.
Yeah, Camille Nanjiani.
Yeah, what happened to him? Holy
transformation! My God,
shit.
He's like, I'm gonna be a superhero.
Yeah.
That's the transformation.
Fucking guy's got cum gutters for days. That guy's cut.
He I feel like it's kind of like the Chris Pratt thing, right? Like when Chris Pratt first came on, everyone remembered him from Parks and Rec, and it was like he's gonna play and he got like. And then for the sequel, he just was he decided y'all aren't gonna replace me, so I'm not working out as hard. Yeah. I think he kind of said something like that, and I was like, oh. So,
and that's the effect that Disney Marvel has to be banking on, that they're hoping Eternals is going to be the next Guardians, this unknown property that has this crazy cast of recognizable people, and that it appeals to audiences because of that. But that was director, man. That was all.
That was a lot of gun.
Yeah, big time. So,
also Groot. What's the Eternals Groot?
You can get lucky so many times. Eventually, they're gonna trip. They're gonna trip.
I'm really curious to see how it's gonna go. I'm actually very curious. I think I was a little worried with WandaVision, but then because of the history and Scarlet Witch was popular at some point, even if in the first few phases of the cinematic one she wasn't. In the comics, her and Vision are pretty well known, but with the Eternals and stuff, I'm just like, and then Shanghai, what's his name? Shang-Chi, I think, and then they're coming out with Scarlett Johansson's movie. I don't know why. I feel like I have made it so my brain never remembers who she is in MCU.
The entire Earth has forgotten anyway. They're like, yeah, we don't care. Just
because her character dies. So I don't know how this is gonna work. And it's just like, this is the time for Warner Brothers to hop on, because MCU is in phase 4.
I agree.
You know, there's some heavy hitters returning, like Doctor Strange in a certain way and stuff like that. But and Loki with the TV show and everything. But I'm like, you know, Warner Brothers still has some of their legacy characters that they haven't even introduced. While MCU is in phase 4, where they're kind of introducing you to the ones you don't read about a lot. You know, I mean, this is Warner Brothers' time to really do it. And they're being jerks about not wanting to make Snyderverse canon again. It's just, I can't. As a DC fan, it is so frustrating because at some point, I even had to say it on the WandaVision thing. I was like, at some point, I can't defend this. I was like, I can't defend, yes, Black Widow. I'm going to forget it again. But, thank you, Sculder. But like, yeah, I can't defend it because I don't know why they're making these choices right now. I really do think it's certain people in power who just really, they just started micromanaging. And they're just running it in the ground. And I don't know if it's just, I mean, you don't want to think it's something as simple as egos and pride, but it feels like it almost.
Yeah.
Well, a chunk of it, I think it is like, has Warner Brothers had like a reliable, like, this is our big cash cow since Harry Potter ended? Because that was like $1 billion guaranteed every year.
Christopher Nolan.
Has Nolan ever made $1 billion at the box office outside of The Dark Knight?
Dark Knight, Inception.
Did Inception make $1 billion?
I want to say so.
I'll pull that up real quick.
Well, and Tenet's still doing box office right now.
8.3.
8.3.
Oh, no, sorry. 83.6. No, just God damn it. What's wrong with my brain? $836 million.
Worldwide?
Yeah.
That's not $1 billion.
Not quite $1 billion.
Yeah.
So I think that might be part of it. Like Warner Brothers was like able to just like skate by for like a decade on Harry Potter, and they had the thing that everyone was trying to emulate once Lord of the Rings went once the Lord of the Rings ended. They had the big franchise that the entire world was always hungry for, and ever since it ended, they just haven't had that.
Yeah,
so maybe it's like a desperate grab. To
Warner for their credit, they've been trying stuff and missing. Meanwhile, Universal steps in shit, and Jurassic World makes a metric fuck ton of money. And I don't remember if Fallen Kingdom made much more money, but Universal seems to just have happy accidents every now and again. Halloween. They were expecting 40. The fucking thing made 170 or some shit. And it's just like, oh, oops, we ran into money. What?
We ran into money. Where did this come from? We were up to Superman going bad. Can we maneuver from there a bit? Was there anything else in that little section that we wanted to drive from?
Well, are we at the part where Silas dies?
Yeah, I think we're literally there, actually. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was a different choice, right? Like in the Whedon version, Silas gets to live. I guess that was the one thing Whedon gave Cyborg to let his dad live. Like, I got it, your whole entire story and everything you were trying to go with your themes, but I'll let you keep your dad at the end. Because Silas is actually a very important character to Cyborg's story, of course, right? Oh, yeah. And he works for, industries and everything like that. So there's a lot of connection there. And I thought I was sad during that moment, that was probably my one thing where I was like, did that have to happen? Did they have to kill him? Could he have lived? But then I saw the ending monologue he got at the end, right? The whole wrap up of connecting that wasn't there in the Whedon version, that connected everything and started Cyborg's story. So I was like, okay, I see why it happened. But it's just it seems sometimes a little lazy with great superheroes to always make it so that they have to lose people in order to, but I get it. But it was like, he already lost his mom. Why does he have to lose his dad too? So, but it was a choice. I got what Snyder was doing though. I understood it. It was interesting to me. The one thing I could say for Whedon was like, oh, at least he let his dad live. But
that's something.
That's your consolation prize, kid.
And honestly, it was a good death. Like as it was happening, I was just like, dude, that's not going to destroy the box. Please stop. Oh, nope, you're dead. But then we find out, no, he's not trying to destroy the box. He's trying to make it trackable. Which
when he locks himself in the glass, I'm like, that dude is fucking everything up in the next room. I don't think that glass door is going to make a difference.
That would have been hilarious, though, if he swings his axe and like just like, dong.
Yeah, but I appreciated the part he played, though. It was even more. I mean, he was kind of significant in Whedon version, even though Whedon was trying, but he couldn't. I feel like if he had the chance, he probably would have got rid of him, or at least cut even more of his scenes, but it just was very hard to do because of the kidnapping and everything that happened. But he even played even more of an influential part in helping the Justice League and things like that. And it was just such a important role. And he's a great actor, the guy who plays him. So it was like, yeah, darn right you give him more to do. Like it's
Miles
just
Dyson.
Yeah, it's like you're like you know, you
guys saved the day in Terminator 2,
right?
Still working on robots, man. Still
exactly. People were making that connection. Like he's always building some type of technology or something that he gets killed over. You know, he's a little bit of a typecast, but or a really strong father figure. And this one they combined it. It was really great. So I like that. And also with that, we had more of Ryan Choi, who was working with him a bit more, who was also significantly cut. I don't even know if I remember him from the Whedon version.
I don't think he's in the Whedon version because they pretty much cut out Silas's entire story for the most part. So.
And you know what's so crazy is that he wasn't just some regular lab person. He's literally Ryan Choi, Atom himself, a superhero character from the DC world who Snyder wanted to possibly do a spinoff with. And Whedon was just like, no, I'm just going to get rid of this whole entire significant character. What? Like, do you care about the DC fans? I mean, everyone else with Marvel, y'all give everyone Easter eggs. Can we have our Easter eggs? Can you have Ryan be in there so we have hope that Atom is coming? Like,
I'll tell you what.
He cared about getting Batgirl, and then he got Batgirl, and then he lost Batgirl.
Here's what I'll do.
Because he said he couldn't come up with a script.
Here's what I'll do. I'll show you Batman as a kid and a pearl necklace breaking through a gun. I'll give you that.
Actually, you know what? That's something I'll actually really, I think is a really interesting choice. We almost went an entire Batman movie without a single reference to pearls, a mother getting gunned down in the street, or any of that. It all just happened in the last 4 minutes. Like if like the Joker,
did it?
Yeah. Martian Manhunter mentioned his parents, and
but we didn't see that infamous gun with the pearl necklace shot.
No, definitely not.
Thank God for that.
So many times at this point.
Then we didn't try to make a Wonder Woman script, and it was horrible.
I haven't read it, but there is a legendary.
I read a scene from that. I was like, thank goodness he didn't get this part.
God forbid, man.
And from what was told in the behind the scenes was that he literally kept calling Diana Natasha, like Scarlett Johansson's character. Like in the whole thing, he kept calling her Natasha because you see those characters, you know, are interchangeable for him.
He's a hired gun.
Theorize like did he have some sort of weird under the table deal with some Marvel executives, and they're like, just go fuck it up, man.
I said that, and I know we're entering a DC zealot territory, but I literally once I really thought about it and wrote all my notes and on my board of like theories, I was like, oh my gosh, I think he was a plant. I think we was a plant because how do you get it this wrong? You know what I mean? Like, how do you fuck it up this much?
Yeah, it could have
no sense.
Marvel could have paid him extra. Like, listen, if you fuck it up, we'll double your Avengers salary.
And I guess we won't know until we see Gunn's Suicide Squad ever, you know, if they have done this with multiple people, with him being back in the Disney fold now, you know. So we shall see.
Man, I never thought about that before. That's a crazy thought. Like
obvious.
These are the kinds of conspiracy theories that I like. You know, not flat Earth, not QAnon, like corporate inner like
Kill the burgers.
each other like
Disney / Marvel trying to buy the world.
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, so what else are we up to? We're close to chapter 5. If
So
not
Steppenwolf's got
chapter
all the
5.
boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right, yeah, because he just killed.
He doesn't get a name.
I don't
he has
know
this iconic death.
how much more I can hold this.
What's
That's
his
all he
name
is to me.
actually? I'm curious.
Miles
I feel
Dyson. His name is Miles Dyson.
bad.
So we're like almost to the different third act, if I'm not mistaken, or
Yeah,
at least
we're moving.
incredibly close. So, yeah.
Joe Morton. That's the name. Okay.
Yeah.
I
I'm sorry, sir.
He was in it's a Brother Man from Mars, a classic.
He's in a couple of
Brother
movies.
from Another Planet.
Brother from Another Planet, which was a very one of those classic type sci-fi but commentary movies. They was one of his early ones.
Not to be confused with Meteor Man, right? Because that one was.
Well, that was
So I've actually got a really embarrassing Meteor Man story. I spent like 25 years thinking that was Eddie Murphy for some reason.
Oh man!
Like
really?
I saw it when I was like 4 or 5
Robert
in theaters. And just in my head, I never saw it again, and I just in my head just made that Eddie Murphy. And
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen Robert Townsend curse.
No, he wasn't that kind.
Yeah, he was
had
a clean comic.
Stuff like 5 Heartbeats and all that.
Yeah, he was clean.
Yeah, Parenthood. It's a great series.
Well, so
I never saw it. I heard it was good though.
What are we up to? We're basically up to Superman saves the day at this point, aren't we?
Probably Superman on the farm with Lois, I think.
Ugh.
But
And mom, let's get a 3-way hug.
Yeah.
3-way hug for everyone.
And there was another really weird change that I noticed because in the Joss Whedon version, she when they're hugging in the cornfield or whatever, Lois says, "You smell good," and Superman responds, "Did I not before?"
Yeah.
And then in this version, he finally speaks, and Lois is like, "Oh, you talk," and he's like, "Did I not before?" And I'm just like, "Why? Why did you go back and reshoot it for like that one line, maybe one other one? Like I don't understand.
And they don't touch it again, right? It's just a weird like.
Well, it's just funny that there's like random lines of dialogue in the middle of scenes that are otherwise unchanged that are so different. It's just like just why?
they got to get that SAG rate up. That's why.
I guess.
I need more lines.
I'm under 5 here. Come on, let's get me up.
Yeah, so they have a big hug. They hug it out.
Great moment. Absolutely adorable.
Sure, I guess.
It was nice to actually see Martha as Martha and not Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Say that name.
Martha Manhunter. Sorry, go ahead.
That's something I want to ask because when I first saw what we know now as Manhunter, I thought it was Red Eye Superman. Because when we first saw him, it was just like his silhouette with the red eyes. And they for the most part, they don't explain who he is. Even when they do explain who he is, what's his deal? I know he's the army guy from Man of Steel and BVS, but why suddenly is he the guy with the cape and the red eyes?
Well, he's the vision of Justice League. He can fly. He goes through walls. He's very strong. He's got like a little bit of shape-shifting abilities.
What the fuck's he doing with the army then? Why is he dicking around with that shit job?
Maybe personal research, trying to be incognito. And I mean, with the extent of the threat that's coming, maybe he's like, okay, now I'll finally reveal myself as opposed to
if he's vision, what do you need their stinking computers for?
Well, he's also a Martian, right? Studying humans. I mean, I feel like he kind of explained that to Batman, where he was like, I've been standing on the sidelines, kind of just doing my own thing, but I feel like now I want to really join the fight. So I feel like that was his way. Because even on the thing I did, some people were like, why did he wait all the way till after the fight was done to like decide he wanted to tell them he wanted to work with them?
Good job, guys.
Yeah, he's like, they got this. It's cool.
Like, oh, okay, the world didn't end. Cool, I want to work with you guys now.
No, he was coming in to help, and he's like, "Oh, that axe! axe. I do not want to get hit by that. All right, guys, I'll catch you next time. I'm out.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but I feel like that was one of those moments that were fan service a little bit, which was fine for me. I mean, I like Martian Man. I mean, I felt like that was a little bit of a fan service moment. But Snyder actually said originally that was supposed to be Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern. Wow. And the black Green Lantern, Jon Stewart. And what happened was
not the show host.
Yeah.
Not the Daily Show.
Yeah, what happened was he had filmed it and everything. He wanted it to be Jon Stewart, but the problem was the studios once again stepped in and were like, no, you can't use him for this, because Snyder says in an interview he figured because he said they wanted to introduce him somewhere later on, and that might be the case because I think HBO Max is doing a Lantern series, but we don't know who the main Lantern is. So hopefully it's Jon Stewart, because I would hope they want to keep him from having a cameo somewhere early if they're just going to make him a supporting character in someone else's story. But yeah, originally Snyder, that whole thing, I guess except for the Martha thing, but the thing at the end was supposed to be Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
No, Martha was supposed to be Jon Stewart as well. They're getting really out there with it.
But you can understand why somebody like me feels lost with that stuff, right? Like it feels a little off.
Oh yeah.
Like,
okay, sorry.
No, like it's just like okay, who are you? All right, you've got powers. Why are you showing up damn near the end? And that's it. Oh, no, okay.
Go ahead, Fuego. You was gonna say.
And I mean, honestly, since they're so staunchly saying that they're not going to do anything more with this iteration of the DCEU, it does feel like pointless fan service in that regard, because you're like, fans are going to want more of this character, especially the diehards. And if you're, I mean, that's just back to, since they did recut this, they could have cut out the stuff that hinted at all of the future plans that they still adamantly claim they're not going to do. So it almost feels like kind of a tease, so to speak, and kind of disingenuous to a degree. I don't know.
Cody said if they don't do anything with this, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah,
it's kind of frustrating, which I can understand. Like, but at the same time, leave it in there. If people like it, we can pull from that. Rather than not have it. If people like it, then they'll tell us. They'll do a hashtag bring back the Martian and
bring back the Martian. Hashtag bring back the Martian.
We want the Martian cut.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of playing the game, though. It's
sure.
More like, let me keep this stuff in here, add what it. I think, Snyder said he didn't want to do another comic book movie for a while, but a lot of people say a lot of things, and I think in a way it's kind of like this whole thing of, well, let me throw it in the studio's court. I'll show people what this could have been. And if you guys are still saying it's not canon, you have to answer for that. Yeah. Not me, because I'm saying that if I got another chance, I do what the fans are saying they want. Who they're going to be annoyed with? Not me, not Snyder. It's going to be with the studio who decided they didn't want to let me finish this. So I kind of saw why he did that in a way, because I'm like, okay, smart man. You want people to want, I mean, you got Jared Leto to come in, and that was a whole new scene, right? And it was like he did that for the fans, but also kind of like, look what we could do if y'all push hard enough. Because look what they did. If they pushed hard enough, they got the Snyder cut. Yeah. I mean, it can happen. And so I think there's possibilities of it, but I get it. It was frustrating. When I gave my review, one of the things I said that I loved, I said that it was 90% very welcoming to people who were new to it. Like if you didn't know anything, but then there was that 10% of stuff, particularly towards the end, I felt like that could have felt like comic jargon, right? Kind of feels like insider jargon of, like you said, like, okay, who's Martian? Like my boyfriend, Michael, he, with the Martian Manhunter scene where she turns from the mother to him, he's like, what just happened? Who's this guy? Is there an invasion going on? Like, and it's just like, oh yeah, because you don't know that's a good guy there, And the same thing with the nightmare thing. I kind of had to go through, what that means, because if you don't study it or whatever,
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna know what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
Even I had to look it up. I was just like, yo, okay, I get what he was trying to do, but why is this out of this sequel? Okay, I gotta do some research. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I gotta do research, I know anyone new to this is gonna be like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Totally lost. Yeah. Although I do think there is a way where, I mean, in a film that discusses multiverses and different timelines and things like that, why can't both be canon to a degree? Because isn't that what having all these
Brilliant
other
point.
worlds and other iterations of stuff really entails? You know, the future that could be and still could be, because, you know, who knows when money is driving the.
I mean, so I'm of two minds of the epilogue. When Joker's locked up on the hood of a cop car or whatever, their little conversation that they're having, that they need him. First of all, I was like, okay, so this is kind of a dream in a movie. We don't really need this. But then on the flip side of the coin, I was like, I'd like an entire movie just about this, please. I want to know what the fuck's going on here and give me all of it.
Yeah, that's what they were going to do, though. And, you know, they just wanted to tease us just a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a very intriguing tandem of people, with Deathstroke obviously having teamed up with Batman. I mean,
that was fascinating.
Yeah. They're like those little tiny hot dogs you get when you're at like a wedding or something. Like, yeah, this is great and all, but can I have more?
Was that Amber Heard back?
What was that?
Was that Amber Heard back in that particular role? I couldn't tell.
Amber Heard? Oh yeah, that was her with a whole new accent.
Yeah,
British
which
accent.
I noticed too.
Yeah. It's not me, mate. It's not me, brother.
I think that's because that was filmed before, right?
Yeah. That was pre red hair. Yeah. Ben says that's the Injustice game.
That's where the evil Superman
after Lois dies. Yeah,
it's a great fighting game.
Spoiler.
It's at the beginning of the game and the cutscenes. You know, that's why Superman turns evil, and that's obviously the theme that they did explore throughout this film with Lois, is that just her being alive and being there for Clark is what basically keeps him from going nuts. Obviously, so.
Alex says also this version actually sets up the future Flashpoint movie when the original doesn't.
True.
Yeah.
I heard they were switching around the Flash movie though, so who knows how. And that's another thing. There are still some movies that are within this universe, right? And I don't think it would take much for them to say, okay, we'll do the Snyderverse version of it. Yeah. So I don't really understand why they're against that. Even if you don't want Snyder as the main one. I mean, I know some people have been saying, what's his name? The person who's doing the Batman might be a good fit to take over or something like that, to kind of realize the vision. Fine. But it's like, you can say, okay, that's the canon, that happened, and let's go from there. Someone else can carry it out because for whatever reason, y'all don't want to let Snyder do his thing. But, you know, actually have some, when we get to it, like the things that's supposed to happen that Snyder did want that I was completely against, that we can talk about.
I've heard some of those. They're interesting.
Yeah.
Well, go on. You have the floor.
Oh, well, the thing about, like you were saying, it's very obvious in this movie that Lois is pregnant, right? Yes. Which is a whole thing that that was kind of heavy handed. I don't know. I don't think they really hinted at her at all being pregnant in the Whedon version or whatever. I think the timeline felt different in the Whedon version too. It felt like it was a longer time since he had died or something like that.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a week at the most. Like barely any time has passed.
Yeah. So she hasn't been at work or anything like that. So she's very much pregnant. And Snyder was saying that his original thing, like we were just talking about, like, oh, Lois gets killed and the whole thing with Batman and stuff like that. But originally he had wanted Batman to fall in love with Lois. And that he was going to fall in love with Lois while Superman was dead. And then the whole conundrum would be, okay, I'm in love with this woman. She makes me want to forget everything, but I realize I have to bring Superman back because even though she's in love with him, the world needs it. So he brings him back. But it was supposed to be this thing where Lois was supposed to be pregnant by Batman, and that would also send Superman over the edge, and that Lois would end up having the baby after Batman gets killed, because he does die in one of the timelines, but then her baby, even though her and Superman raise it, would go on to be the next Batman.
Does somebody want to send them a copy of Pearl Harbor?
Yeah,
love Trank.
Yeah,
wow.
And I was not for that. I was like, first of all, is all the Robins a joke to you, Snyder? Like, there's a reason. Like, they're supposed to take up his mantle. Okay, in some regard, there's a Bat family, for better or worse. I don't really like Batgirl, but there's a Bat family there. You know what I mean? And it's like, you're really gonna have Superman's kid, and it's like the whole thing. Snyder said that Superman, that the studio was against that. They did not want a love interest of Batman and Lois, but they were still okay with the idea that eventually Superman and Lois's son, who wouldn't have powers, would eventually become the Batman. And I'm also thinking, as my brother pointed out too, and I think someone else pointed out, where it was just like, if I was Superman and my son wanted to be Batman when he grew up, I'd feel a little slighted. I don't care how cool of friends we are. Like, you know what I mean? Why don't you want to be me? You know? It was kind of weird. I don't know why he wanted to go that route.
There was a few things like that were a little odd, like the summoning air bubbles to talk underwater for the Atlanteans. I read a thing about Zack Snyder not being a fan of people speaking English underwater, so he views as Atlanteans as they should speak in like clicks and squeaks like dolphins. And by the way, how dare you put that forward in a movie and not let William Dafoe speak in clicks and squeaks? Like it was right there, just the
eyes and the expressiveness alone would have been just
the only thing that kind of gets me slightly turned on is the fact of having Batman but with Superman's powers. Like, that would be some fucked up shit. You think you're dealing with Superman, you think you're dealing with Batman, and the guy can hear what you're thinking and destroy you with his red eye, whatever the fuck that shit is. That's fucked.
His death beams.
It's almost just too much, man. You know.
Yeah. Listen. I just stole jewels. Can you not kill me?
I don't know. I think one of the things that makes Batman great is that he doesn't have powers. I don't want Batman to have powers. That's one of the great things about how he is. Like, you always wonder, like, how is he the one that doesn't get killed and everyone else but he's the human amongst all of them. But he's also at times the most calculating, you know, and it really works. I mean, I know the joke is like, oh, I'm rich, that's my superpower. But his other, thing is that he's ridiculously smart and methodical. And it's just, I don't know. I think it would cheapen it if he had powers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, another class message. You can't save the rest of the world unless you have a lot of money. Trickle down economics, right there in front of you.
Yeah, I've heard people say. Yeah.
Wait, you've heard people say that? Seriously?
Well, I've heard people say trickle down. Reagan said that, but I would say I've heard people. But no, I've heard people really get on him because he's a rich dude. And the idea, like, he's a vigilante, he's not really a hero. And I'm like, no, he's a hero. And I say that as someone who's left and stuff, but it's kind of weird that gets held against him. So, like, yes, he's rich, sure.
Yeah, he's got money.
He also pays his people, unlike a certain other counterpart of his in the MCU.
Oh, shots fired.
Once y'all watch a certain new show that's out, you'll know.
I heard that's an interesting plot line. I heard about that.
About who pays the Avengers, right?
Wow. I'm kind of intrigued. What else do we got? So the big fight. They're ready to fight Steppenwolf, and everybody's joining together. But Flash needs to what? He needs to turn back time to
once again run really, really fast to charge up electricity in order to poke something in order to get it to work. That was another weirdly redundant. Like, really? We're just doing this again?
Well, it was a different thing this time, right?
Right. And obviously it worked
I
out
mean,
differently because, like,
he's always gonna have to run. He's the Flash.
no, that's not my issue. Him running's not the issue, but just like, okay, guys, I got the electricity we need. Are we ready to do the plan? Like twice in one movie, it was just a little much. But it did work out completely differently the second time because, like, it didn't work. He got shot, he got hurt, and then he turned back time, and it was just like, oh, okay, so this guy's got that power. That's pretty cool. That scene was visually something else.
It
like
was
when, like,
beautiful.
The light poles were like popping back into existence, and like his electricity was like dancing off them and stuff. That was something.
And that's a power of his that they were supposed to utilize in the third movie in the trilogy is they find themselves in that horrible future that we get these, premonitions and dreams and stuff about. And he was supposed to like turn back time or go back in time himself to warn, Batman and all of them before this happens. And, Lois needs to stay alive. And it may be a little convoluted to a degree, all of these, just weird beats that had to happen just for the story. I don't know. Snyder is fascinating in the fact that he loves like kind of drawing from the comics, but putting his very distinctive spin on things for better or for worse at times. So,
just real quick, anybody in the chat, if you're tired of an absolute scumbag just taking over the dynamic of the chat, just chime in with 99 cents, and I assure you that will severely piss this person off. That is all. I'm sorry.
There you go.
So you were talking about Flash going back, the fight or the climax. Lindsey, are you finding something?
Oh no, sorry, I got distracted by something else momentarily. The climax. I don't know. It was very similar to the climax.
Gaspar Noé movie.
Yeah, no, it was fascinating to like see like the moving parts of like, so why did they have to send Flash off in order to save this random Russian family? Because in the original cut, he wasn't there because he was running around in circles charging up electricity. So it's like, so that's why that was there. They like reverse engineered that whole Russian family from that because Flash needed someone to save so he could be off screen for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Although he goes off screen with Superman, if I remember, and that is one thing watching the Whedon version that I did kind of like the little like quirky kinship that Supes and him have, because even in that post-credit scene, they have the race at the end, and in the Whedon version, and so there are some beats in the third act of Whedon's, between Flash and Superman that I did find relatively endearing. So.
I also did like Superman's intro line in the Whedon version, though, like, what is it, like, I'm a fan of truth, but I'm also a fan of justice. Like that was like the right kind of cheesy for me. Like I don't know if it works in like all this universe, but that was the right kind of like, oh, okay, we're going cornball. I can get behind that.
There is also another scene I wanted to mention in Whedon's third act that I found amusing, and that is something Whedon actually wrote a few more interesting lines for Aquaman, in my opinion, than Snyder did. I actually thought Aquaman is a little underdeveloped in the Snyder cut personally, and maybe that's because they knew his movie was already lined up and happening with James Wan, and so they just didn't find it as necessary. But there's a little instant with the lasso of truth being wrapped around Aquaman, and he's talking about how he's fine with dying, but he's like, I'd like to live though. I still got shit I want to do with my life. And then you find out that he's just saying all of this because he's all wrapped up in Wonder Woman stuff. But those are just a few of the little bits that I did find entertaining in Whedon's version of this film. So yeah.
I felt like they had a really good dynamic by the end of the movie in Snyder. Like, like it was interesting because I felt like Moma's character was a little bit more cynical, but it played with his arc in the movie of being kind of having that chip on his shoulder about his life and feeling like his mom abandoned him and things like that. So, he was dropping some nuggets of truth on another side of it, right? It was kind of like this thing of, he even says like, why do we don't need to really bring Superman back. You don't know what you're bringing back. Or the thing where he's like, when he talks about Cyborg losing his father, he's like that his father is dead because of us. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like he's kind of like saying some things that are like, poignant, that kind of showed a little bit more depth of his kind of, that arc he was going through that wasn't resolved by the end of the film necessarily, but of course would happen in his movie.
Yeah, in 2017, he had a way more of a fuck it attitude where it was just like, whatever. I swim in water, fuck it. Where this time he was way more invested and he had feelings and like you said, he there was a lot more weight to what he was doing and saying.
Yeah, like even good.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, was it in the Whedon one where Flash, when asked, he talks about, because Aquaman asked about Cyborg and like, how's he doing? And Flash is like, well, and then Flash is like, and he says, and then Flash is like, I thought you didn't care. And then Aquaman's like, I never said I didn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
like there was
exactly.
that moment where it's like, I have this facade. Like, I do act aloof, but I actually do give a crap. And to me, that was very significant. I was like, that just showed a little bit of the layers of his depth in a way. And even, when you think about when they were debating on bringing back Superman, in Whedon's version, they made Diana be against it. He made Diana against bringing back Superman. And it wasn't until Batman brought up Steven, be like, well, if you had the chance, and, bringing up her boyfriend. Whedon made Batman bring up her ex to back down in bringing back Superman. When it's like, what? She's literally an Amazon warrior goddess. Like, she knows it's more strategically sound to bring back Superman, which the Snyder cut showed her doing just as that. I know I keep bringing up little things, but he did he did characters so dirty. It's in terms of just
it's pretty fair to say that Joss Whedon will never pass the Bechdel test. He always has to have some sort of girlfriend. He's a weird dude. Scalder, €2, thank you. For use in Walmart for people not banned from there. And that's
a deep cut right there.
when you're banned from the store, all you can do is talk on the computer and tell people that they're pieces of shit. Meanwhile, you're the one who have been arrested from Walmart.
1 second, guys. I got some shade in this drawer I want to throw. Let me just dig that up here real quick.
Well, and also one thing watching Whedon's version is he seemed most definitely like he was living out his fantasy of being Batman and having the potential of getting it on with Wonder Woman, because in that third act, there are major open up, like where they're sharing the whiskey together and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of just the indication that those two had a thing going on, which Snyder didn't really explore very much at all.
Look, when you're Batman, you got Wonder Woman coming at you, you got Lois Lane coming at you, you got Mara coming at you, just like all the ladies want to get a piece of the bat.
I'm glad.
Catwoman. I mean, come on.
I'm glad
too.
They kind of flirted quite often where it was like, oh, is Batman and Wonder Woman gonna hook up? They flirted it quite a bit, and it never really came to fruition. And then there was a line where she said something about getting over someone, and I was like, you stupid bitch. Who the fuck are you to say that? You've been dying over this guy for a fucking century. Who are you to talk?
Decades,
yeah, so much so that you'll put him in another person's body and then that person. And...
Stranger rape. What are you talking about, lady?
Look, when you look like Gal Gadot, it's not rape, okay?
I could sleep through that. That's fine. Actually, I probably couldn't sleep through it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I like Wonder Woman 84, but that's a bit of a pill to
swallow.
Little
weird. Yeah. How did that get past? Whoever needs to check that, because that's a red flag.
But he had to make the joke about the exercise bike and that he wants to ride it to place.
What else we got? Wrap it up. We're at 2 hours already.
We're getting close to.
We're almost the full runtime.
I had to cram food in my mouth before this because I realized, this is gonna be a long one. I should eat right now.
I have not finished.
Okay, well, with the finale and actually vanquishing Steppenwolf and everything, I was just glad that we didn't have parademons that smelled fear and swarmed him and lifted him up to the sky. Like, I mean, Superman lasering off like one of his horns and stuff. That shit was badass. I gotta say that the end battle with him was significantly cooler,
so brutal,
more violent.
Yeah. Fucking head chop. Give me more of that.
Yeah,
Fuck
man.
Yeah.
And it was Wonder Woman who did it, right?
Yep.
Because one of the things they replaced was when he says she's mine earlier on, she's like, I belong to no one.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone falling on her boob in another movie. So, that was switched. And so for her to be the one that gives the final blow, and and that's not just with the Whedon version either, because I feel like in 1984 they kind of played that a little bit too with her, where she doesn't really kill people, and it's like she's an Amazon, she's a warrior, they kill people. Isn't there a comic strip where she says there's a reason why you don't see me like Batman and Superman, where I have villains for decades? She's like, because when I deal with people, I deal with people. You know what I mean? She's like, I kill my enemies. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, they kind of play that down, and I feel like they fall into a little bit of a weird trope, you know?
Well, and also the fact that Steppenwolf had been very specifically taunting her throughout the movie in those various scenes, instead of any of the other members of the Justice League. Just, him being like, oh, and how they, cried out and how you weren't there to help them. Like he made it a point to go after her directly.
Well, because he fucked up all the Amazons, and he knew she was. I mean, I never, I don't know if that's where you were going, but I never felt like, okay, she's a female. They're trying to do this weird male female thing that she somehow needs to be helped or spoken to like somebody less than. I never got that. Even though I just said it and now probably subconsciously introduced it to people. But yeah, it was a bunch of dudes who got to use their different strengths, and she got the finisher, and boy, did she get the finisher. Holy fuck.
They also had to get that musical sting in there one last time.
It got a little excessive in my opinion. Like every single time she was going into one, just a little flourish.
Can we get? Listen, Hans Zimmer is busy. Can we get Enya?
He was also lying to her too, though, right? Because he was like, "Oh, your mother." Da, da, da. Her mother was still alive, but of course, he also noted that she was half God too, right? Like that was one of the aspects of it, and I feel like maybe on some level, aside from Superman, maybe he felt like she was the most equal to him out of everyone because of her old God roots and everything.
Do you think maybe he was afraid of her?
Well, I don't know, because luckily Snyder took out that whole thing about the parademons or whatever smelling fear, which was inserted by Whedon, which was dumb. So,
but would they have smelled it on Steppenwolf?
Well, I guess they did in Whedon's version, but I don't think he was afraid of her. But I do think that he felt like she was more of the equal, like, because he's a warrior too, and just like when he was talking to the Amazons, why do you run and things like that. It's, I feel like it's a little different. I feel like it's like she's old school. She's like Cyborg said, she's over 5,000 years old.
I'd still hit it.
Well, that's what he was saying. Because even Flash was like, "Do you think she likes younger guys?" And then Cyborg was like, "She's 5,000 years old. Every guy's a younger guy to her. What are you talking about?" And so, I mean, there were just really good dynamics between them all.
Yeah.
But that final blow to Steppenwolf, it was great, because in the Whedon one, I felt like he was so cartoonish, and it wouldn't have felt as right for him to get killed the way that was.
Well, it was kind of like a Captain Planet ending kind of way, where it's like, I'll get you next time, Planeteers, next time, as he's falling into the portal.
And he just looked better. His face looked better. His eyes actually looked, granted, it's still CGI, but he looked better. Like, take your time with shit like this. Fuck.
I do agree that his face looked better, but honestly, I'm not a fan of like the spiky razor armor.
Really?
It reminds me of the Bayformers, and like when I look at it, like
All
I
right,
can't
all right.
focus on anything. It's just too many little moving bits that are just too similar to each
I
other.
like when he like thrusted and all the fucking arrows
That was
just
cool.
popped off. That was
And Chauncey
pretty
shared a thing on Twitter where someone recolored him, so he wasn't just silver.
Yeah.
Like that looked really cool. Like
Oh,
I
I haven't
thought
seen
that
that.
looked
Shit.
amazing. It was like there was like shades of red and a little bit of green kind of spread out there. So like each kind of part was just more distinct.
Sorry, Trini.
He's like, I've gotten everything. I don't actually need to watch it. Thanks, guys. No, you must watch it. It is an epic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Oh, so one thing, I need to preface that I don't mean any harm or ill will. I'm just asking something as something that it just struck me, and I don't know how I feel about it. So I'm just going to throw it out there to see what you guys say. At the end, Zack Snyder did a tribute to his daughter for this movie, and I felt weird about it because this is the movie that he was making when she committed suicide. So why make that memorial to her? I mean, I don't know the details. What if him working so hard on that movie was part of the reason why?
I guess I don't know about that specifically, but I do know that she was like a writer, like she wanted to be a writer, and she loved like crazy stories about like monsters and gods and stuff like that. So like,
I don't know that. Okay,
like I think I read like did you read the Hollywood Reporter thing, Fuego? I think we talked about that. It was like a really big, long, very, very good read about this whole thing. And it talked about how like it became very difficult for him to disassociate this movie from his daughter because like it just reminded him of her. So
I bet. I bet.
Yeah, how could it not?
See, what I was thinking, and it's just a sliver. Like if I was, if I was somebody's daughter who was working that hard, and I needed time with my father, and he was busy doing this thing, and all I could think of, what if that was part of the problem that led to her issues, and why would you highlight that? I guess that's where my mind was. I'm not saying that that's what I think. I'm just wondering, what if that was against her wishes?
I don't think so. They seem like they're a very tight knit family. I know a few people who know the Snyders. I've met one of his daughters actually. Very cool. Very 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 chill person. I have a feeling that there was a support network going on there, but just sometimes.
Yeah. I need to be clear. I'm not saying one way or another that I know. I'm just saying, what if I'm not trying to disrespect anybody as somebody who's very clearly in tune with a very similar situation. It just got me thinking, and I was like, oh, what if? But
go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say that I think the Snyders are a relatively extended family, if I'm not mistaken. Like don't they have a lot of children? So I mean, I would hope. Kids. Yeah, and so was she blood or was she adopted? Because that I can't say I know for sure.
I actually don't know. I think she was adopted.
I think she was adopted too. Yeah, but I mean, I would hope that she had a support network. And I mean, when people take it as far as she did, there's obviously telling signs for quite a while in a lot of instances. And so, I mean, I can see the interest behind the theory, but I would second with Lindsey probably and say I don't think that probably played a part. So
yeah, there's not much that I'm putting into it. I mean, shit, she could have been pissed that the studios were fucking with the process, and she could have been like, well, it could be the exact opposite, where she definitely wanted to see this thing done, and he's a superhero for it, for finishing it and attributing it to her. I just felt odd seeing it. I guess I don't know how to put it.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, one of the things was they tried to push through the make it after she passed away, and he just couldn't. because he was just so overcome with grief. Because he actually tried to do it because he figured if, him and Deborah, his wife, like if we just throw ourselves into work and make this like something we can do, it didn't work out that way. And he pulled away, and that's, what happened. And I feel like I thought it worked, as a testament to him getting his vision out there. And, I'm sure if his daughter was someone who loved his stories and being able to add to that world, then I think she would have loved that her father got to realize that vision that he had, and I also think, it's kind of hard to say, like, if you had done something different, would that person still be here? As someone who's lost someone to suicide, that's a question you asked initially, like, had I been home, like, had I, not moved across the country to pursue this dream or something like that, and I had been over there, I could have been the person to talk to them or something. But
the phone or some shit.
I think eventually you just realize when someone has decided to do something like that, they've decided. I mean, you can physically maybe step in the way, and if you're there in time and everything, but I mean, at a certain point, I don't think questions like that, not like your question, but the question of if I had done something different, I don't really think it applies to situations like that.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion as someone who's gone through it.
And likewise, and congrats to Zack Snyder for making a very good movie. No matter how you feel about it, sticking it right in the ass of anybody who said he couldn't do it. He went out, he did it, and people are behind him and they're loving it. So
he did it for free too. That doesn't get brought up a lot, but that was how he got creative control. He's like,
I thought his money, I thought he used.
There might have been he might have done a little bit of that, like in between 2017 and when like the
out of pocket. I thought he was paying for some of it.
I thought the same thing, actually. Yeah, and also that like people were finishing the effects work at reduced rates. Some of the people who were originally on it, back in the day, and so I mean, testament to perseverance, and it was obviously a labor of love, and props for that. Even though there are some people who are like, 2017 wasn't good, and this one's not really very much better. I hate that sort of cynicism, and I've seen it from certain critics on Twitter about this film. And it's like you were predisposed to dislike because you either aren't into superhero movies, or you're a Marvel person, or whatever the hell it is. I mean, try to go into something with an open mind as opposed to these sort of preconceptions. So.
No, everything is what I thought it was based off the trailer.
It's a real intense game when you get into comic book movies and all that. It gets so intense. I mean, I've never really been in the Star Wars universe. I'm more of a Star Trek person, but I mean, yeah, fandoms are crazy, right? Like depending on what they're expecting from a movie. And I'll say that even as a DC person, if I watch an MCU movie that I don't care for, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna skip part 2. Oh, third one looks better, I'll go do that. But I feel obligated as a DC person, like, I gotta sit through this. The only one I chose not to sit through was Shazam. I was like, I do not care about this character. I didn't care about him. So I was just like, I really don't care. None of this is cohesive anyway. I'm not gonna miss anything. So I just decided not to watch it. But you get passionate about stuff like this.
A bus fell off a bridge and he caught it. Sorry.
There's already, isn't there like a Shazam 2 coming out?
I think so.
I'm actually ready for. Oh, go ahead, Fuego.
Although today, it's either today or this week, they announced that Black Adam is finally going to start.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah.
After they announced it, how many years back? My God. Yeah.
They announced that X-Men movie that's never going to get made.
New Mutants?
No, I got Gambit. They announced the Black Adam movie when they announced the Gambit movie.
With who? Who's the Gambit star now?
Exactly. It's clearly not.
They've gone through 9 Gambits.
It was supposed to be Channing Tatum at one point, right?
Yeah. And I thought that was a miscast.
Yeah.
I actually thought the dude who was in Origins wasn't bad as Gambit. Personally, the movie was awful, obviously, but it's a dude from John Carter of Mars or whatever his name is.
Taylor Kitsch.
That guy's underrated. I actually think.
I agree.
Yeah, he is. He was in Covenant. The Covenant.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was. I thought you were talking about Alien for a minute. No, you're talking about that weird witch movie. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
One I watch yearly.
The suit
It's on Netflix. Everyone should watch it.
The craft.
Stan's in that too.
It's the craft for pseudo boys. It's all boys, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's a boy witch movie. Yeah.
It's also like Top Gun in that it's secretly kind of homoerotic.
Yeah, homoerotic. Yeah, homo curious, perhaps.
A lot of sweaty boys in that movie.
Any news before we polish this turd?
If you're looking for sweaty boys, watch The Covenant because you'll get more than you know what to do.
That's a yearly watch.
Yeah, it's annual, man. You gotta watch Covenant.
Lit. Go ahead, Fuego. Go ahead.
On the topic of horror, I was excited that we finally got some clarification about this new Resident Evil movie. It's coming out September 3rd. It got its title reveal. Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. Not the most inspired title, to be fair, but I'm just stoked because it's apparently going to be accurately adapting the first and the second video game. So we're going to get the mansion. We're going to get the Raccoon City Police Department, and also the director Johannes Roberts, who's saying he derived a bunch of inspiration from Carpenter, like older Carpenter. The Fog and Assault on Precinct 13 specifically was because he wanted to have a very atmospheric and just foggy, rainy. I mean, the same sort of environments you encounter in the games, obviously. So just the fact that he's going to be doing something that's a little more accurate to the source material, because I love those games. New one comes out in May. Very excited.
I love those games too. The idea of carpenterizing it kind of I don't know how I feel about that. The Fog, I wouldn't put the Fog in the same category as Resident Evil. Resident Evil really they well, it's a video game, so what the fuck am I talking about?
I mean, I think it's more so like eerie atmosphere of that particular Carpenter film, and just having Raccoon City in the surrounding area, just honestly making it more of a horror film instead of a straight up action film, which is obviously what Paul W.S. Anderson did. So
that first game, which is what, 25 years old now,
this year,
they fucking nailed it. Just port the game, just use that as your script and go with it. And what else? Anything else we got as far as new?
Did we mention that David Ayer cut is definitely dead in the water and not happening?
I think we talked in the preamble before we went live, but
not live.
It's a bummer in that regard, because that's a film that I still feel like there were elements of wonderful potential, and that's not just because I love Will Smith and Margot and stuff like that, but there were like I see a good movie in there somewhere. Without a dancing underwear model, I see a good movie in there somewhere, but we just definitely didn't get it. So,
didn't it get revealed that like Steppenwolf was supposed to be the bad guy in that?
Oh,
and then like they changed it so.
Instead of this, you mean? We couldn't have this.
Damn, CP, you should have played her. Like, you got some moves there, bro.
That's all I had to do.
I am not a Cara Delevingne fan. Like, really?
Yeah, me neither.
She's in that Amazon series with Orlando Bloom, isn't she?
How does she keep getting work? She's not the greatest of actresses. I gotta be.
I think it depends on what she plays, and she's actually okay in that Amazon series.
Is she?
Yeah, I think she's okay in it. There's a few moments where it's like, but other moments, for the most part, I'm like, okay, she works.
I remember the first time I saw her was in Paper Towns, and they made a big deal about her, and I was like, why? Who the fuck is this? You could have anybody else in this movie. What's going on here?
The Luc Besson with Dane DeHaan that she did was just
it was a weird mess.
Valerian.
Valerian.
It's
I don't know
pretty.
why I got that and Jupiter Rising confused just now.
Oh, come on! Don't shit on my Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending, yeah.
I actually like that movie.
In fact, I really like the first 5 minutes of Valerian. It's like once the actual story kicks in.
It's pretty.
It's a beautiful looking movie.
Just mute it and treat it like your television's a fish tank. You just let it play in beautiful colors. And
I love Luc Besson, though. I mean, every film that he has done at least looks just immaculate. So
I agree. I love Fifth Element. I love Fifth Element.
I was just gonna say the Animal Crossing horror movie is getting a feature.
Wait, you said two words that shouldn't be put together.
It's like a
There's
short
a
film.
short.
It's like a little short film, right, Chauncey?
Yeah, but now it's getting the feature of treatment. So it's a short film. It was a short film, and I think it was at South by Southwest, wasn't it?
What?
It was there, and basically it was a horror game based off of Animal Crossing, or more so. Well, yeah, Animal Crossing pretty much was like a main feature of the plot, and now it's going to be a feature film. So we're getting an Animal Crossing horror movie, y'all.
Holy shit.
Well, I mean, hey, if you can make a horror movie about a killer pair of jeans, I mean,
which is pretty good.
Which I watched last night, and I was just like, this actually has something to say.
Right? It has a meaning flat.
Something to say.
No, it actually legitimately does. It's I mean, everything from consumerism to, exploitation of workers. Like there's a few very poignant messages.
Well, but by that point, then so did the Child's Play remake. Very, very,
I don't
very,
want to talk about that.
Very briefly. Very briefly. Yeah, I watched about 7 minutes of Willy's Wonderland this weekend.
That movie.
And I said, oh, so he's not going to talk during this movie. I'm done. The whole ride with the tow truck driver where he was asking questions, then answering the questions because, oh, you don't talk much, do you? All right, so here, I'll answer for you. It was just, what is this fucking movie?
I wish people could just see the scene where Nick Cage is dancing around playing pinball to like an 80s power metal song because it's pretty fucking funny.
I don't think I made it that far.
Yeah, aside from that, the film is very throwaway, unfortunately.
Yeah, it may be a music video. If you want to make that a music video, if you have to, but fuck, that was obnoxious. News, any other news? I'm sorry.
A third Ace Ventura film from the guys behind the Sonic movie. It's going to be on Amazon, apparently. I guess Jim Carrey is, despite his off-the-screen weirdness that continues, and he has a lot of interesting stuff to say about, societal, without getting deep into his intellectual musings and whatnot. But if he's okay with returning to slapstick comedy of that nature, I'm all for it. He kind of proved to Sonic he still has it in him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The best parts. So
yeah. Sculder, Ray Fisher is disputing comments made by Warner Media Studio CEO Ann Sarnoff regarding the investigation into Fisher's allegations of misconduct on the Justice League set.
Wow,
way to bring it up now, 4 years later.
Still going.
Well, they're still doing a blacklisting campaign against him.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's a shame. It really is a shame because he decided to speak up on something that was actually true. Not that he was proven wrong. It turned out to be so true.
Yeah.
And they're still like, no, shame on you for bringing this towards our front door. It
is weird.
Hollywood,
it is weird.
So...
what we know about the cast and crew of that movie, that Ray Fisher is the person we're talking about, and not, hey, let's shoot a scene where you fall into a pair of tits, because I think that's going to be funny. Let's just put that in there. All right, so that does it for this. Is anything big coming out this week? Fuego?
That's a good question.
Theaters
are opening.
Anything okay?
I'm most definitely going to go see Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. That it's basically with with
fists, just a bunch of fists on the poster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the trailers look fun, and I mean, just seeing dude from Mr. Show in that sort of role, because I always think of him as that as opposed to the Call Saul show, because I don't watch that. But just him in this sort of badass role, it looks very amusing to me. It's the only wide release that we have this weekend, so
a little bit longer, and
then Kong Skull Island, which means we still have our tickets for already, so we're excited.
Wait, Kong Skull Island or Godzilla vs. Kong?
Sorry. Yeah. Godzilla vs. Kong.
And then Mortal Kombat shortly after that.
A couple weeks.
Remember when we had like 3 a week? Shit.
Predicting who's going to win?
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Brohan. Your name on the thing says Lindsey Brohan.
Oh, sorry.
So,
I completely forgot I did that. I was like, Brohan, what are you talking about here? I'm working on a video about Justice League. It's the scripting of it that's taking a while. Once I actually get it into Premiere, it should go pretty quickly, but I'm working on that. And a couple of other little things. Stay tuned. My WandaVision video's out. Check that out. That one's pretty fun. Yeah, that's what's going on with me. My 2 cents of nonsense. What the?
Sweet. Fuego.
Yeah, so getting together the last of this just deep dive of Pinocchio and all of the various iterations of it that I mentioned last week. As far as horror show stuff goes, it was mostly just revisiting of things for this upcoming week. We watched the Stuart Gordon film Dolls. That was a patron request. We just put that up today. And I know later this week we had another patron that wanted us to do commentary for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So I hadn't probably ever watched that in its entirety. I'd seen some on TV here and there growing up, but I think that's Thursday, if I recall the schedule that we're putting that up. So, yeah.
Chauncey.
Godzilla versus Kong is coming out this week, so I'll be having a review of that when it's premiering. Also, I have the movie Autopsy with CP of Jason X, so we'll be talking about that on Friday.
I got to rewatch that shit. And take my notes.
You're welcome. Because it is a great film to rewatch.
It's got one of the best kills in the franchise. To be
I guess.
It does. It has a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, there's 42 seconds worth of film watching.
Anyway, also, I will be doing a review of Invincible. Which is the upcoming Amazon animated R-rated animated series, superhero series, from the creator of the Walking Dead comic books. So I'll have one before the premiere for people who want to have a spoiler-free review of it. I'll be doing a review of it before it premieres. I believe it comes out next week on the 29th. So I'll have a review of that on the 25th once I finish the episodes.
That's cool. Awesome.
J.K. Simmons is in that, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Simmons has his Stephen Ewan. I always mispronounce his name, but yeah, they play father and son, and it has shades of The Boys, from what I understand.
It's violent and things, and it's R-rated. And
I like violent.
I'm interested. I forgot her last name, Zizi, who plays Domino and did
Zazie Beetz.
Beetz, yeah,
is in it too. She's playing one of the characters, although she's not playing one of the. It's a weird different because they kind of did a race bend for her character, of course, reflect the change of it. So that'll be interesting. Although I know the story arc based off of the comics of her character, so I'm like, why change that one? Why not somebody else? But yeah, it should be interesting. Got a lot of heavy hitters in there, so I'm interested about it. I never read the comics before like that though, so.
And as Chauncey said, I will be joining her to watch the glorious Jason X, which I will probably watch.
Best movie of the franchise.
Yeah, I you know what's funny is I have the set. That's the first movie I'm going to be watching from that set. I feel like such a poser watching Jason X first from that set. I'm going to get a notebook. I'm going to take notes. Not that I really think I need it, but because of my medication and all that stuff, I need to make sure I'm gonna win this debate because as easy as it is. And other than that, I'll be in the hospital this weekend. A week from 2 days ago, and we'll see how that goes. I just got to get cut up and have some stuff taken out. And other than that, we should be back to business next week. When will we be ready for Godzilla? Godzilla will be out by this time next week.
Really?
It comes out the 31st.
Yeah, it comes out.
Wait a minute. No, next week is the next week is the
29th today.
29th, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't Godzilla come out on the 25th?
I believe it's the 31st, if I'm not mistaken.
They moved it? I thought it was...
Maybe
it comes
for
out on a
you.
Wednesday. Yeah.
I think Chauncey's got that. She's got that journalist tip. That's what that's about.
March 25th. So actually, it's coming out in 4 days.
Yeah. It's coming out this week
For all of us, not just
Yeah.
special Rotten Tomatoes
Well,
people.
that must have been a significant change then, because
Awesome.
yeah,
because Mortal Kombat's coming out like mid-April, so they needed to give it a little bit more time. I know it's kind of weird because it's coming out the next week after Justice League, but yeah.
Yeah, if HBO Max still had their 14-day free trial, this would have been the 10 days to annihilate that shit. Damn.
well, it's weird because it says 31st on the Wikipedia, but then it's saying
That's not always updated though.
Yeah, because we had, and also for my local theaters, the earliest available is the 31st. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, maybe
It could be
coming out this week.
It could be 25th for Max, HBO Max, and 31st for theater.
That would be very irritating.
Awesome.
I'd be fine for saying
I got a big TV. I don't give a shit. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back to regular old bullshit next time. If you haven't seen Justice League, go do it. As somebody who's not a comic fan, I actually suggest it, even if you have to watch it in 2 sittings. Everybody say good night, Junior.
Good night, Junior.
Night.
Hasta luego.